Lieutenant Governor Van Huysen. Oh, they're good. I was waiting for that. They said, you start speaking, they won't interrupt you at all. They didn't interrupt us at all. Thank you. They're fantastic. What great, incredible, talented pilots. Thank you very much. And Secretary Burgum, who's doing a phenomenal job. Governor Ron DeSantis. Thank you, Governor DeSantis. Where's Ron? Thank you, Ron. Distinguished guests and fellow citizens, tonight we gather on the eve of one of the most extraordinary days in the history of the world. Tomorrow we mark 250 years of glorious independence and 250 years of majestic American freedom. Nothing like it. In all the chronicles of the ages, never before has any nation celebrated so magnificent a triumph as this one, the one that we are participating in right now. At 250 years, America is the oldest republic on earth. We are the freest people on earth. We have the most righteous and enduring Constitution on earth. We are the strongest and most powerful country on earth. And by the grace of God, the United States of America is the most successful, most accomplished, most exceptional nation ever to exist in human history. And it is great to be your president. It is great. For a quarter of a millennium, liberty, justice, equality, self-government, and unmatched prosperity have flourished here as they have never flourished anywhere before. There is nothing like what we are doing. The birth and survival of the American nation under God is quite simply the best and most incredible thing ever to happen on this planet by human hands ever. That is ever, ever, ever. No other country has done more good for this world than the United States of America. And we give thanks for these extraordinary blessings. We remember that what we have created in this country is not the natural way of the world. It is not the norm. It is the exception. It is rare. It is priceless. And it is truly miraculous. Throughout the entire story of humanity, most people in most places have lived a life plagued by suffering, poverty, exploitation, violence, and misery. But here in America, in this land, on this continent, we have written a very different story. It's a tale of adventure, liberation, and unmatched greatness. It's the story of people governing themselves, the many uniting as one, the men and women rising by their own skill and talent to go further and reach higher than anyone has ever gone before. There has never been anything like this. The triumph of American independence was the result of the most extraordinary people in history, the most extraordinary culture in history, and the most extraordinary ideas in history, all creating the most extraordinary republic ever, ever, ever in history. It all came together for the miracle of July 4th, 1776. That was a big year. 250 years ago tomorrow, what a big day that is. I consider this a big day because I'm with you. I like that too. And by the way, we won big here. We won really big. Each and every time. But 250 years ago tomorrow, the words of our Declaration of Independence sent an earthquake through all of the coming time. They sparked a revolution that has never ended, but still continues to this day. And tonight we come to this beautiful mountain, and it is beautiful, to express our gratitude to those who made it possible, starting with the four men most responsible for reaching this milestone more than any others. We salute the father of our country, George Washington, the author of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, the great emancipator and savior of our Union, Abraham Lincoln, and the man who built America into a global superpower, Theodore Roosevelt. These are the men who declared the freedom, and won our freedom, and saved our freedom, and secured our freedom. They were men of action, men of ambition, men of daring, men of destiny, and men of truly great intelligence. Above all, they were great men of history. Tonight, on the threshold of our 25th year, we stand beneath the monument of these heroes, a true group of unbelievable people, and we rededicate ourselves to being a nation as big, bold, noble, and as great as these American giants. And that's not easy to do, but we're going to do it. These men could only have been made in the USA. Their faces are engraved on these bluffs, not only because of what they did, but to remind us forever who we are. These heroes exemplify what is timeless, enduring, and eternal about the American character. And in the end, it has always been that character, our distinct and unique identity. It is a truly unique identity, and it'll never change. It's the ultimate source of our strength and the bulwark of our freedom. On this anniversary, we must remember, we have to remember, we can never forget that American liberty has not endured for 250 years merely because of words on paper. Liberty has prevailed here because of the culture and character of the people who declared it, defended it, and preserved it. These are very, very special times, and this is a very special place. You live in a very special place. Congratulations, everybody. The identity of a nation is the destiny of a nation, and America has a destiny like no other because we are a people like no other. For whatever reason, that's just the way it is. Here, the old world sent its bravest, boldest, and most resilient, its fiercest, most faithful, and freedom-loving. These men and women brought values, traditions, and customs transmitted over the centuries in Britain and stretching back even further to Athens, Jerusalem, and Rome. The United States of America is where the greatest civilization in human history became greater than ever before. On the grounds and granite hills and the rugged plains of this wide-open continent, they forged a uniquely American character, a new breed of citizen. That's you. Congratulations. Congratulations. You're not that new a breed. You're a really good breed, but I'm not sure that you're that new a breed. Americans did not bow before a king or a government, but kneeled only before Almighty God. That's right. These were the people who founded our republic. These were the patriots who fought for independence. This was the spirit that demanded freedom. And this was the culture that built America and carved its heroes into Mount Rushmore. For generations, it was understood that the core of patriotic duty of every American was to pass this culture on to our children and to preserve the nation for centuries and centuries to come. But in recent years, there's been an undeniable attempt to change this exceptional character, to beat the American spirit out of us, alienate us from our history, and to make it impossible to even answer the question, what does it mean to be an American? As we march into our 250th year, incredible, beautiful year it will be, we must never forget there is no American freedom without American culture. And there is no American founding without the American people. Many nations have paper constitutions and legal systems, but the citizens live in fear and squalor. A constitution is only as strong as the people and the culture responsible for upholding it. But as long as we remember who we are, we have to always remember who we are and what we're all about. The United States of America will forever be the land of free men and women, and we will never, ever fail. So tonight, let us say clearly and proudly what makes Americans so unique and extraordinary. We're going to give our country its identity back. Above all, Americans love freedom. We cherish independence, and we know that we are the heirs to the most beautiful land, the most thrilling story, and the most precious legacy on which the sun has ever shined. In America, we do not need anyone's permission to say what we think and to live as we please, to worship as we choose, or to keep and bear arms. You know that. And for almost 6 years during my presidency, I've saved, almost single-handedly, but working with John and some other great people, we've saved your Second Amendment, and I will continue to do so, I promise. Our rights here, given to us by the God who made us, and those rights shall not be infringed. Americans believe in self-reliance. We look at success with envy not, and I say that some people are envious and some people are not. We are not, but with admiration, and we earn it, and we will always earn it, and we will always respect it. We are an incredible, good, kind, and generous people, always ready to help a friend or a neighbor in need. No one has ever given more to charity, ended more hunger, cured more disease, or done more to uplift humanity than Americans, and no country ever will be able to match it. Thank you. So true. Americans honor excellence. We admire boldness. We respect ambition. We are a nation of dreamers and believers, warriors and explorers, doers and fighters. In every human endeavor, Americans see an unfinished competition. What is strong can be made stronger. What is fast can be made faster. What is great can be made greater than ever before. And that's what's happening with America. Show us a mountain and we'll just climb it. Show us an ocean and we'll just cross it. Show us a problem and we will just solve it. Show us a task the world calls impossible and Americans will get it done. Americans are strong and always ready to stand firm for a good cause. We treasure justice, fairness, family, honesty, and human dignity, unlike societies based on class, clan, or tribe. We see every citizen as an individual, equal under the law and equal under the eyes of the Lord. In America, we speak English because that is the language of our founding, and for 1,000 years, that has been the language of freedom. An American always wants peace and order, but we will never shrink from danger or threat. We will always fight, 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 and win, win, win. We got to do that. Because this is our culture, this is our character. Not every American is all of these things, but every American knows these are the traits that make our country exceptional, and exceptional it is. You do not have to be born here, but you do have to love what we have built. You must love our country. There has never been anything like us anywhere on earth, and we are not going to let anyone take that away. Yet as we approach this magnificent anniversary, we see our American identity under a renewed attack. A generation after we fought and won the Cold War against the menace of communism, there is now a resurgence of the communist menace in our land, including from newcomers to our country who embrace ideas totally opposed to our way.
Okay, we are going to get back to President Donald Trump's incredible speech really soon. I want to cut in on that one and not to kill the mood because I always get inspired by this man's speeches, and I make no apology for that to the doomers. But anyways, I'm Brian O'Shea, and welcome to Investigate Everything. Late as usual, but that's okay. I figured you were too, so I figured I'd run the speech, give everyone time to settle in, who are settling in. Get yourself a beer or a seventh beer and sit down and let's chat. So let me check the chat. Okay, filling up there. I will get to you guys soon. But anyways, I want to talk about a few things today. A lot of this speech happens to be the things I wanted to talk about. But what I really want to talk about today is several weeks ago, I discussed Donald Trump's plan to achieve global dominance in energy. And a lot of that hinged on Iran, and it's winning still. I also want to talk about his scorecard. It's so easy to get caught up in so much gloomer and doomer media about President Donald Trump and his administration, and they're terrible. Some of my friends who are probably former friends, I see them on Tucker Carlson saying, "Oh, we failed miserably, Brandon." And there's this, it shows me that too many people really don't know how to think strategically. And we'll go into a few things. I've actually done the research, and we have several other things too to discuss. But not to kill the mood, but right there when he said we're under attack from communists, let's go ahead and roll Mamdani's speech. Now, this was this morning. The point of this show is to compare and contrast. You compare and contrast what you want tonight. I'm going to point out to you what stuck out to me. Okay, and I'll tell you after I roll the clip and a few other clips, and we'll kind of exchange some ideas here. But yesterday, Mamdani, his stupid name, that the socialist mayor of New York, Mamdani, gave this speech that was almost the worst thing I've ever heard, and honestly I think it was a misstep, because what I noticed, I'll give this one away, what I noticed is by, I'd say about 12 minutes in, or by noon, you just cannot escape how New Yorkers feel about this country. Not the fake New Yorkers, not the NYU and Columbia students, the several thousand of them that pretty much ushered Mamdani and are trying to get the socialists in all parts of New York and the country. But the real New Yorkers, the people that make the engines turn, love America and hate communism, hate socialism. And we have to talk tonight as well, after we talk about Donald Trump's scorecard. It's important that we talk about what is to be done. What do I mean by that? Okay, so here's the situation. Right now, we're stronger than ever. Okay, military-wise, hell, let me just read the points. Energy dominance, fiscal framework and jobs, public safety, military recruitment and capability, national pride, and unfortunately the partisan divide, foreign conflicts, and his promise to be the peace president. And really talk about the data versus the narratives. And I know most of you that are on the show, you know bullshit when you hear it. Let's just say it. So... but it's important that we actually put those facts down on a list. And I do this literally every morning. I check the Brent crude oil prices. I check military deployments. I check the economy. I check everything. Okay? But like stocks, if you've ever traded stocks, you can't look at every single day and make your judgments based on changes from one day to the next. What do I mean by that? Well, one day there's peace with Iran, then the next day we're bombing, and then oil goes back up, and then the Democrats are screaming and yelling about he's destroying the country, he's a threat to democracy. But have you ever been this free? Ever? Think about it. Are you getting censored on X? Are you getting swatted? Is Steve Bannon being sent to jail by corrupt DOJ officials? And if you look at just social media, and you know this, everything's terrible. There's a race riot in this country about to happen. These different things are happening. And then you take a step outside and you see that, like, no, actually everyone's kind of getting along. This, you go to some of the NYU Columbia pockets of your town, or the, I'd say the trust fund baby crowd and the laptop class. Oh yeah, everything's gloom and doom because they don't leave their bubbles. I'm fortunate that I live in 3 different places. We have 2 places in New York that we live in. And then we have a place here in Salem, Massachusetts, where I am broadcasting now. And I get to see, one is rural. The one up in Hudson Valley is rural. And then one is, my camera's blinking, so if I lose it, it freaks me out. It's one of those Osbot cameras. It's like a living thing. Anyways, one is rural, so I get a real taste of like rural New York. It's very close to where Connecticut and Massachusetts and New York meet. It's a red county through and through. All of my neighbors are shooting in their backyards daily. Everyone goes hunting. The woods are spotless. And every now and then we get tourists from the city. But otherwise, you wouldn't know the difference between my part of New York up there and most parts of New York out of the cities. You wouldn't know the difference between them and Yakima, Washington, or Union Gap, or Topeka, Kansas. I don't know. I passed through Kansas, or South Dakota, or any rural area you belong in. Why? Because that's where the most of the working class lives. Okay. And what do the real working class, not crybabies who can't pay back their student loans, real working class, I consider myself that, believe it or not. My wife's a famous writer. Writers don't get paid a lot. We work very hard. And what do they all have in common? Well, they're busy. See, they're busy building on their little part of the dream, so am I. We're busy making our small house or small mobile home or whatever better. We're putting lattice down on it. We're covering the wheels. We're weeding the garden. We're fighting wasps, both the human kind and the flying kind. But the point is, we're focused on our core family. And it's from focusing on that we're making our families stronger. And in making our family stronger, that now makes us get attracted to other parts of our community with the same values. And then we all come together and we're always building something good. We're always sharing news. We're always laughing about MS Now or whatever they're called and the View. And then we get back to work, as do you. And then we vote. And we do our best to get out there and rally. And I know it's really frustrating when people are like, you got to get out in the street more, and they're sitting behind a laptop themselves. Even I've said that. Do what you can. And I know you do. You do what you can. Where do you start? You start with the things that affect your community, like we've talked about for a long time, and you build that out. That is America. Because if you think about how we started as a lot of different camps. We had the French and the Spanish and, the English. They had their fort, and then we had our fort, and then we'd start trading with each other. So remember, America, we all started out that way as like a bunch of disparate type of camps that came together. And then we decided we wanted something more. We decided we didn't want to work our butts off and pay half of our income or crops or livestock to a king or a nebulous leader that we seem to get nothing back from. And then that king got mad And he sent some guys, and those guys, there was a lot of guys, and they had big guns, and we got our guys. We almost lost, and it ruled on for years and years and years. Obviously, the revolution. And, but we wanted it so bad that against all odds, we got it. And then we had to fight it again. War of 1812, probably the closest America ever came since the revolution of losing their country. And then that's when real America kicks in, real true grit. That's when Andrew Jackson was rolling around the Battle of New Orleans. And he realized, man, these Brits are everywhere. They're coming down, they got their whole navy. We don't really have a navy, but we do have pirates, good old American pirates. Yes, if you don't know the history of the War of 1812, Andrew Jackson actually got the pirates and privateers and to basically attack British ships and get paid for it. Why not? That's innovation. That's good transactional leadership. And guess what? They kicked their butts. It was so bad with the British getting bombed on the water and then harassed from the shore because everyone wanted a piece of that. Now, it doesn't matter if those pirates were fighting for money or the country. The point is Andrew Jackson was, and that was the tool he used. And as it turns out, that was like the worst defeat in history for the British Navy. Because remember, they were already in D.C. They were already at the White House. They were eating the food. They were burning it down. It was terrible. And get to you in a second, Roscoe. I see you. They're burning it down. And what happened? Weather. Up in D.C., it was the weather that kicked the Brits out of D.C. This crazy weather rolled in. It's alleged tornadoes came, and they had to run for their lives from the weather. Okay, and I think that's when people first realized there's something special about this nation. Almost lost it. We go up again to the Civil War. Same thing. The country's being torn apart because we're so far apart on our really different economies. One which ran on slave manpower and one which ran on industry. And in my opinion, that was the real problem that caused the Civil War. And there's a lot of things that led up to it. But the fact is, the North, by abolishing slavery, they didn't lose anything, really. They're a whole different ballgame in terms of the economy. But the South did, because that's how they had an economy, was by forced labor, which is horrible. That's why China has an economy. And many other things. And, eventually it came down to a couple lucky strokes, but the determination of the people of the North who really were fighting for their homes, okay, because had the South kept pressing north, they'd be in Maine, they'd be everywhere. And they made it happen, and they won. Then we go ahead again. We got World War I. I won't go through it all. We got World War II. The whole world almost lost everything. And then we've had a good run. Vietnam was terrible, but it didn't threaten this nation. And the Korean War, same thing. But then we started fighting a new war. And that war was predicted by Yuri Bezmenov, that Russian KGB defector, who was like the master of subversion. What is that new war? That war that we're fighting now, I think, pitched more than ever now. But it really started with post 9/11, where government expanded their powers and they had too much power. And then there were special interests. And then back then, I think all of us that were alive back then, we saw after this brief moment of unity after 9/11. And if you're too young to remember it, that's a shame, but you should look it up. But there was this 7-day gap, this window where the country came together from New York to Fort Lewis, where I was stationed at the time. It was glorious. And then it just went on, and soon things became corrupt and things started getting divisive and partisan. And then came Barack Obama, who, in my opinion, his plan was always to help destroy this country or weaken it to the point where we would never have a chance to be and remain the global hegemon as we are today. He really created a divide in this country that we're still dealing with, and it goes up and down. It's good, it's bad, it's good, it's bad. Of course, you got to bring in the advent of social media, which really seems to make everyone angry, even myself when I even look at it preparing for a show after a glorious day. Okay, and then we get to Donald Trump. He comes in, and I didn't really pay attention. I'm not going to lie to you. I was so busy at the time, and I was never really right or left because I was running a private intelligence company at the time, and I didn't care who my clients were, left or right, and I still don't. But man, had I been paying attention, especially being fresh out of the intelligence community, I would have seen like, oh, this is bad. This is really bad. And it wasn't just Obama's horrible communist policies that he was trying to implement, from little youth like thug brigades and everything, if you remember that. But what started happening under Obama was a lot of people started losing their jobs. Yes, I know he had decent unemployment numbers, but they're losing their jobs. And China's growing in strength. Obama's hanging out with him in California at the same house that's owned by the people that own PolitiFact, the Poynter Institute. And things continue to get worse. And then we were ignoring our enemies. And then we're not going to bomb Syria. Then we are going to bomb Syria. And no one really knows what's going on with Obama. Then in comes Donald Trump. Now, this was interesting because I was in some of those big fancy houses in New York when Donald Trump was leading up to the primaries and really starting to get some momentum. No one thought he'd ever get in, especially in those elite Manhattan circles. So I was hanging with like hedge fund guys. And if you go to Naomi's book, The Bodies of Others, she kind of talks about that world. And it was weird. I'm like, okay, I don't know much about him, but I kind of like him. Kind of reminded me of my dad, kind of like that get it done attitude. So of course I voted for him as he came in. He came in, and I could see right away, and I think a lot of people could, like, he's not hurting cats, he's hurting, DC Tigers, okay, at every turn. And then he made the fateful mistake of announcing that he'd be pulling troops out of Germany, which I thought was great. We've been there long enough. And that's when things really started going after him. But he kept weathering on. That's what I always liked about him. He's doing really great. They try to impeach him. Nope, doesn't work. So then, COVID. Okay, COVID. Now, prior to that, by 6 months, we had Jeffrey Epstein get thrown in jail June of that year. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, towards the end of his term. My apologies. 2019. And no one really pays. A lot of people paid attention, but not that much as they are now. And I was happy. I was really, really pumped up because we knew about him. My wife had talked to several newspapers about Jeffrey Epstein. Not that she was a victim, but everyone in New York knew who he was and what he was all about. Good people went to the authorities. Bad people kept protecting him. Then he gets killed in prison. He gets killed in prison by supposedly suicide, but by the same, in my opinion, I think his cellmate did it. Tartaglione, the ex-cop who had murdered 3 drug dealers in upstate New York with his bare hands by choking them. And then, he's being represented, Tartaglione, by Comey's daughter. She was basically not representing, but she was a prosecutor on the Tartaglione triple murder case. This guy's a monster too. We won't get into it, but and then she's also prosecuting the Epstein case, and they're in the same cell. That's a little strange. Now, a lot of people will say, "Well, this is under the Trump administration." Well, not. Yeah, I mean, but really, when you don't know what's going on, despite your best efforts and everyone's against you, and it seemed everyone was, you got to take him at their word. I mean, that's what a good leader does, is delegate. But it must have been a nightmare for him to have such a lack of transparency by his closest advisors, including his vice president. Okay, so then we flash forward, Epstein goes to jail. That's when my wife started getting attacked viciously, and they tried to cancel her long before COVID. Okay, it started in England, right around the time Epstein got arrested. Kind of weird. And I say kind of weird because her agent at the time was one of Jeffrey Epstein's best friends. It's the reason she left her agent. So we go all the way to December of 2019. Trump's getting it from every direction, but he's still moving on. He's still making that great report card. And it was a very peaceful time, if you remember. There were no new wars. There were barely any conflicts. He wanted to pull troops back from all of our theaters and let the Europeans start spending their own money on their defense so we can spend some money on the things that people need beyond the military. You know, the education system is a mess, those type of things. And then COVID hits. And at first, I think we all remember, it was like, I don't know, kind of like distant rumors that China has another virus, which was laughable because they always have viruses. I think a lot of you probably made fun of Corona by getting a Corona at the airport like I did and saying, oh, I'm going to have some Corona. Then it got weird. All of a sudden, it's like, we're staying home. You know, and at first it was like fun. It was like a big pajama party. But then it kept going on, and I remember Naomi said they're never going to let us out. And they're never going to let him be president because if you remember, they started messing with the postal service. They started posting, the blob. They started posting videos about how the postal service trucks were being taken off the streets by Donald Trump so he could rig the election. And they'd show pictures of just postal trucks doing their semi-annual deep clean, so they're on the back of flatbeds. So I guess what it's like, it's kind of like we all started seeing these things. I don't think a lot of people put it together. It took me months to really realize this is one big war, and not just against Donald Trump, but against America. And it had been going on under Obama. We just never noticed because Obama was slick. Okay, he was slick, and he was a likable guy. But under Trump, we start seeing these things. And then all of a sudden, things start getting really divided, right? Because all of a sudden, there's a huge outbreak in America. Now, no one seems sick. And then they made it seem huger because if you remember, Cuomo brought the big refrigerator trucks into New York City for the bodies. And then they're showing mass graves on Hart Island outside the Bronx, New York, which, by the way, are stock photos. It's a pauper's grave. It's been there for a while. It's active. Those weren't COVID people. Many of my friends who were in the city, myself included, when I went down there and we left, no one was ever using the refrigerator trucks. There were never any bodies being thrown in there. So then I think we realized we had a problem. Okay. We also had a problem because COVID went from a 99% survivability rate to all of a sudden people are pretending to have arms fall off and everything. There was a Broadway actor who said he had to get his arm amputated or something because of COVID. And then what happens? Trump gets COVID. And he takes I think he took, the ivermectin. And he's riding around the White House. And you see, that's, I think, when the cup spilleth over in terms of rage from the blob. Then, right as it looks like, hey, we're done with this COVID nonsense, we get BLM. And it spills into our streets with such violence, I think it would compare to those days of the revolution. Cities on fire, people getting killed, homeless people getting set on fire by BLM protesters who are really just the same people as the DSA and the PSL, and it's the same 31 groups of communists, always changing colors, all running their stuff through the Action Network to set it up, okay, as the CRM. So we see that. So Trump's like, I'm going to send in the National Guard, Seattle, and they're like, no, you're not, and he's like, well, I don't want your son, I'm trying to help you. No, we don't need help while they're getting firebombed. And then when us normal folks said, well, wait a minute. How come these BLM protesters can meet in big groups, but we can't? And we were told by HHS at the time, oh, well, because racism's a public health emergency. Okay, I'm going to just keep going. I'm on a good rant. And so then that really disrupted things. Because if you remember, Trump right up to that time, he was kind of unassailable. He was doing great. And this COVID thing just kept coming. And everyone capitalized on it. Everyone capitalized on it, from Home Depot to the big retail shops who were allowed to stay open. And then they started messing with us, both physically and emotionally and mentally, like leaving liquor stores open and pot shops. Why do those need to be open if it's such a dangerous COVID? And then came the election, and we all saw it get stolen right in front of our eyes. I remember I was out there at the Indian Reservation, Washington State, watching it with my good and, may he rest in peace, great guy named Yancey Black. He was the guy who was my point of contact for the native tribes that I worked for. And I remember leaving his house and saying, all right, brother, said bye to him and his wife and his kids and his chickens and all that. And I go back to my hotel. I go to bed. Good, thank God, that was so close. We almost lost it. And I wake up, and then Donald Trump had lost. Bizarre. I was like, come on. Like, I thought I'd woken up in a bad dream. Come on. Then we get Joe Biden. And remember, the Biden administration, before they were even inaugurated, were trying to get the keys to the White House. And this is after, of course, the fall of Oh, no, we're not there yet. And then the GS employee who wouldn't give the keys, because she can't just give the keys to them. She has to get order. There's a process. And she's a government service employee. The left starts massacring her character, going to her personal life. And we go on and on and on. And then we get Biden. I don't need to drag any of us through that again. You all lived it with me. I lived it with you. But it was terrible. If you think back to those 4 years under Joe Biden, I'm not going to lie to you. I never bought so much ammunition in my life. That's when I got my 35-gallon self-pumping gas tanks that I could keep full of gas in case they shut off gas. Remember, Biden was trying to make it an OSHA mandate to have a vaccine to work, and it got beat in the Supreme Court. Okay, and then J6 comes. Now, here's Biden's thing. He knows Trump has a case. He knows that they need to basically get this out of the way and get this inauguration done in the hopes that Trump will go away. Okay, and when Trump held his legal rally and then warned all the more violent protesters, hey, go home, then that was censored by Twitter, Jack Dorsey at the time. And then anyone who spoke up about it was attacked from every side. I had just said the day before J6, just on my Twitter, about thank God we have the Second Amendment in this country, this new government that's coming in, we're going to need to protect ourselves from. I had people in England saying, oh my God, Naomi Wolf's husband is threatening the lives of politicians. I'm like, what is going on here? So we go through Biden. We see the wholesale giveaway of Kabul and Afghanistan to the Taliban. And they tried to paint this boogeyman named ISIS-K, who, according to Anthony Blinken, just a month earlier said in his official report, ISIS-K, the Khorasan group, is no longer a threat. They're doing most of their operations in North Africa. But then somehow this non-threat in North Africa sweeps through all of Afghanistan. And then the National Security Force, I think they're called, the army that we built, which was massive and well established. They supposedly get beat, right? But they kind of disappeared. They kind of just disappeared. Did you see one body of any Afghani soldier being dragged around by the Taliban, who loves to drag around bodies? No. Because ISIS-K was a fairy tale. It was that large amounts of the Afghani defense force had been were always Taliban. And then to help that along, Biden gives them all new equipment. You may have noticed those pictures of like the Taliban in our uniforms. You ever notice the uniforms fit perfectly? and they knew how to tuck the tassels up into the boots like we learned in the Army, and how to tuck their laces into their boots like we learned in the Army. If you look at most third world countries or terrorist groups, they got the laces hanging out and ill-fitting uniforms, helmets on backwards. No, these guys, they even had that trigger thing going where they're not touching the trigger. So obviously Biden armed them. Why would he do that? Well, because most of those weapons ended up on the black market, but he also did it because China owned them. How's that to have to do with Afghanistan? Because China never closed their embassy. Why would China want Afghanistan, you're guessing? Well, they're building the Belt and Road through it. But on top of that, one of the chief exports to China from Afghanistan prior to the fall was semi-precious minerals. What are those, Brian? Oh, the ones that make wafer boards for semiconductors. And if you look at those last articles in the Kabul Times before the fall, here you have the Biden administration say, "Oh no, they said, they can handle it, and they got it." And you got the Afghani generals saying in the Kabul Times, "No, we can't do anything without any air support. Are you kidding me?" And oh, by the way, we've got Pakistani Taliban escorting Chinese geologists all around the country, and this is like in July. Boom, Afghanistan falls. God rest the souls of those brave men and women who lost their lives because of Biden. But we've lost Afghanistan. That emboldens China, and we're a joke of a country. And it was a hard time, especially being a combat veteran. A lot of you are too, to watch what was happening to our country, and to see this one man who just wouldn't freaking stop. It goes on, and they're trying to put him in. It wasn't just the assassinations. Remember that Benny, what's the guy's name, over there on the 9/11 Commission, they were trying to lift Donald Trump's Secret Service detail, because they get them for life, if he got convicted as a felon. Now, can you imagine sending Donald Trump to a prison with no protection? They were trying to pass that. They were trying to kill Donald Trump, the Democrats were. Okay? And no, not the Israelis, the Democrats. Okay? And then he beats that. Then he gets indicted on 34 indictments with no underlying crimes. They were doing everything to try to stop this guy, but he wasn't stopping. And then he gets shot at Butler. Grazes his ear. Yes, it grazed his ear. It's obvious. It's caught on video. Everyone, all you doomers and gloomers are like, "Oh, it's fake. Oh, where's the wound?" It just, it's called makeup. He's a public figure. Okay. But then the Biden administration gets the body cremated of the shooter. It doesn't look like the guy they're saying it is. That guy actually looks like the guy that's still alive out west, who was tweeting that whole night saying, "Hey, I'm right here. That's not me." And then they're hosing off the roof where the shooter was. Sounds like a cover-up. Kamala Harris changed her event, and so did Jill Biden that same day, which drew Secret Service away from Trump, thus forcing President Trump's detail to be augmented by DHS folks with no field experience or no protection experience. Okay, so you all know that one. Then we got Ryan Ruth, the second would-be assassin. He shows up after getting pretty much indoctrinated and really drinking the Kool-Aid over in Ukraine, and he wasn't military, he's just some contractor from Hawaii. But he ends up somehow in Ukraine, and he's really just falling in love with the Ukrainians and the Iranians. If you read his book, it's like his diary. And then in his book, he actually said, the people who escaped Afghanistan, the military, are being tented and housed and kind of refitted by the Iranians. So that became part of their army. And of course, we would have to know all this. The Biden administration would, maybe not Biden. But what it was doing, it was pushing, the Biden administration is where we really saw America being shoved into their sphere, getting cut off from power, getting laughed at. President Biden at the time, falling asleep, wandering into the woods, pissing his pants, threatening Americans. If you don't get this shot or else it's going to be a dark winter. It went on and on and on. And all the while, That's the domestic side. We see the international side. We're losing ground. We've got an emboldened China who, let's not forget, like at the beginning of the pandemic, kind of just moved the clock forward and just took Hong Kong back, and no one said anything. Also, totally raised Mongolia, and those people are in education camps to this day. Okay, forgetting their Mongolian heritage. No one talks about it. Philippines getting onslaughted by the Chinese Navy. No one's doing anything about it. You got Biden slobbering all over him. So, yeah, me and Xi, we go way back. He's a good guy. Xi probably enjoyed it. He's like, these people are dumbasses. Like, this can be easier than I thought. His unrestricted warfare didn't even have to be that acute. But in the distance, you got Trump. He's still coming. And then all of a sudden, it really became clear after Butler. He gets up and he pumps his fist and he says, fight, fight, fight. Because he could always see what was happening, because it's happening to him. And like he always said, they're not after me, they're after you. Not just Trump supporters, but America First supporters. People that really want to see this country be the leader of the world and the global hegemon. Because if we're not someone way, a horrible country like China will be, I don't think Russia will be, it'll be China. And he wins handily. It was obvious. I mean, once they put Tim Walz in with Kamala Harris, I mean, I know a lot of Democrats in the Pacific Palisades and New York, and some in a lot of my in-laws, my own sister, they get annoying. And even they couldn't stand Kamala Harris. They're like, I'm not going to tell you which way I'm voting, but I wish they put someone else on the ticket. And what the hell kind of creature is Tim Walz? So he wins. We're back in. What a great day that was. If you remember, I live streamed all night long. I was so pumped. Damn, we're back. And it's going good. And it's going good. And it's going good. But then another thing starts happening. We start seeing the rise of what we call the MAGA Reich. Right after his inauguration. Right after his inauguration. Some would argue right after October 7th, which happened under Biden. A rise in anti-Semitism that started with the left, like Jewish Voice for Peace and people like Naomi Klein after October 7th. But then we see it coming from the right, the so-called right after Donald Trump's inauguration. That's when you see, Tucker take his pretty hard turn on a lot of people. And then, of course, there were some missteps. Pam Bondi announcing case closed on Epstein and there's nothing to see here. Yeah, that was not too smart. I don't think she did it to further some big goal by Ballard Partners where she worked, where United Healthcare was her largest client, which is also why she, doubled down on the death penalty for Luigi Mangione. But she just always strikes me as a slimy creature. And she's part of that swamp. Okay, so she's out of the picture now. But now we got the Epstein thing. The Epstein thing is important. But it's not a question of national security or our own survival as a nation. It's a question of justice, and that's important. But we have to prioritize. There's higher needs than justice, and those are survival as a nation. But this right-wing type of weirdo, flat earther, nonsense, bullshit people, they start really just doubling down. Epstein. Never, ever once kind of putting in context, well, yeah, but didn't Epstein finally get caught under Donald Trump? No one ever talks about that. And it's weird how these Tucker Carlsons and Candace Owens and all these people focus on Trump covering up the Epstein files. Well, if Trump was covering up the Epstein files, why did he allow his DOJ to arrest the man in such a dramatic fashion? Why did that happen? Well, of course, he's not covering up anything. People forget it's an ongoing investigation. You can't release things in an ongoing investigation, or those pedophiles walk. But people don't want to believe that. What they want to believe their own stupid, misguided anger. And that's what the MAGA Reich, that I like to call them, was really good at feeding. Like, everyone's against you. You can't trust anyone. We should pull everyone back. We should be isolationists. Oh, by the way, the earth is flat. This is that crap. Disgusting people. not patriots, not Americans. One in particular, Ryan Matta, who I've met, who produced my friend JJ's movie. He's sitting there telling Americans, do this, do this. He has a decent following. I think his videos are gross because his face is right there. He's always sweaty. It's nasty. But all the while he's living in El Salvador. The same guy that was wearing the MAGA Reich and all the Nazi shit at the Tom Massey rallies. Okay? MTG supporting Massey. Like, that's the next phase, you know? It's like, and that's, what is that? That's like chaos, right? So we have chaos on the right, and then in comes the Democratic Socialists of America. And not recently. They've been at this for a while, as we reported years ago. But they rise up. How do they rise up? They're not a political party. Well, they just, get into the Democrats. That's where the squad came from. That's where, most of the crazies in the Democratic Party are actually Democratic Socialists. And then what happens in New York? No big surprise. Mamdani gets elected. Why? Because he tells his base, which are more or less stupid due to mob mentality, but determined people, which makes them dangerous, makes them canvass, makes them win elections, regardless if they're stealing some of the votes. The way they're set up, they're a machine. And but he gets in because he promises free stuff. He's not talking to Americans, and Americans, real Americans in their heart, did not vote for Mamdani. And trust me, I live in Brooklyn half the time, and you're hard-pressed to find anyone who voted for Mamdani, because not that many people voted. Or the people that did vote, just like Spencer Pratt out there in California, they're finding a lot of votes weren't even counted. There's a court case my wife just went to about ballot counting and some of the corruption in New York City elections. New York City is important. It's, I think, 9%, 11% of our GDP. It's our biggest port on the East Coast, Port Elizabeth, which is New Jersey and New York. It's everything. Our financial system. We can live without it, but the transition process would be disastrous when that gets captured. Then the country divide gets bigger. And you know what? I forgot to mention the most important dividing part was Charlie Kirk. When Charlie Kirk died, and admittedly, I really never watched Charlie Kirk that much, but I liked what he was doing. And I saw what he was doing. He's doing exactly what the DSA was doing. Okay, not socialism, but he knew that young people hunger for something to define their lives, something bigger than themselves. That's what the DSA does. You're part of a revolution. You're changing things. They're not going to change anything because the people they're working for will get sucked into the money. They already are. And they'll forget about the people that helped them. Well, it's the same thing that I think Charlie Kirk was doing. He was giving young men and women who were kind of rudderless politically and economically, he was giving them some hope. Like, it's not Donald Trump that's going to save this country. It's going to be you. And he was taking young voters away from people like the DSA and and the Democrats. And I make a point to say those separately. And regardless of all this Israel nonsense, which there's no evidence to support it, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Israel would never do. They do assassinations. They ain't gonna do one like that. No, it was a guy who was raised in a conservative household in Utah who was gay. And he was scared to go to his parents with it. Not only was he gay, he was like gay with a furry. And the anger that was causing, was it Tyler or whatever, in my opinion, fueled his decision to shoot Charlie Kirk. Now, if you know the security situation there, it's wide open. I don't blame the security team, but I've done close protection before. I would never let a client speak there. And he gets shot. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, it's the Israelis. Like, people that think everything is the Jews. Taking the Jewish part out of that, does that make any sense? Because if Charlie Kirk is taking voters away from liberal politics and bringing them into the conservative side, well, I got news for you. Israel fares far better when there's conservatives in charge and when liberals are in charge. Okay. And so that never made any sense to me. And I'm surprised some people, even people I know, bought it. And it's just dumb. It's stupid. It's honestly like Tsarist propaganda from like the early 1900s. It's the same playbook. Obviously, the one that made sense is the radicalized, Antifa-inspired, furry-loving, closet gay guy who blamed Charlie Kirk on saying his lifestyle was wrong. This guy was delusional. He thought he was in love with, the chipmunk or squirrel, whatever the hell he was dating. And he shot him and he killed him for it. Then you got the grifters, Candace Owen, who capitalize on that to get rich. Inadvertently causing chaos. I don't think she's intentionally causing chaos. I think she's just greedy. And I think she has no soul. And I think she was in love with Charlie Kirk, and he didn't love her. And I see why, because she's an evil, disgusting reptile. But that divides the country, because now the Epstein file people are merging with the Israels did it file, and then in come the anti-Semites and the actual, like Nazis that like harass us every day, via messages or whatever. My wife is Jewish and a common sense person. But yeah, like they all merge together. Now this kind of fringe right MAGA Reich is a pretty big voice. But what people weren't paying attention to is happening on the left as the DSA took more and more power. I could see it. Brooklyn, just these wanted posters for Dan Goldman a year ago. The policies, the attending some of these DSA meetings and watching them like give homework about how to track down your landlord's personal information so you can go terrorize them, basically. Yeah, I got on video. We saw that happening. And the Charlie Kirk thing, really, I think for the people without morals or an ethical compass that were kind of wearing the beard of MAGA and America First, people like Candace Owens, people like, I don't know, Tucker Carlson, whatever. I think while Charlie Kirk was alive, he was a bit of a spiritual father figure where like, these people are evil, but they're not going to do anything because Charlie Kirk would hate it. He's a very charismatic guy, and he's good, seemed like a good, pure soul. But once he died, it's almost like they were off their demonic leashes. And it got worse and worse, and it's still there today. Now, we also have the DSA, and the DSA actually kind of has helped a little, because I think a lot of these fringe idiots became non-fringe idiots when they saw, oh shit, there's a real problem. There's a communist pack of over 100,000 people, biggest in our history, biggest communist thing in our history, and they're taking our major cities, and they are. We got a bigger enemy to fight. It's like a lot of the fringe MAGA Reich people have really calmed down, because just like in Game of Thrones, well, they thought these people or that kingdom was really, really bad until they saw the White Walkers. And I think now the White Walkers being the Communist March, people are saying, oh, this is a big problem. We kind of can't worry about this other stuff. And if you are one of those people that keeps pushing things that just further divide us, I'm going to ask you, lay off it till at least after the midterms. But if you can't, give me your name so I can put it out to the audience so they can just, eviscerate you in any way they can. Because that's just, it doesn't help to go after this conspiracy theory or that one. These are bad conspiracy theories, especially Candace Owens is the queen of the most nonsensical National Enquirer level stuff. Actually, National Enquirer looks like a real newspaper compared to the slop she puts out, and it's weird to watch these idiots gobble it up, especially the anti-Semites. Anti-Semites and racists normally kind of fall into the same low-level IQ, kind of trailer park mayonnaise sandwich mentality. Regardless of how much money they have a low-class mentality, and racism's easy for them because they can blame all their problems on someone else. How the Nazis rose. All right, rambling. Where was I going with this? Where I'm going with this is Donald Trump is once again constantly always under onslaught. And you know what? We got what we wanted. We got our birthday. We got everything. We got our MMA match when the clouds literally parted to avoid DC. I kid you not. Look it up on the Weather Channel. And we're still here. But we can lose it all. And so when you think you're too tired and you think you don't have time to get involved, think about how busy this guy is who got shot in the head, in the ear, and then shot at another time, and then shot at the White House press conference where they had terrorists. And there's death threats all over this country from these communists. And by the way, I've gone to a lot of countries since Donald Trump has gotten in office, at least 7 European countries, and they love Donald Trump. My my daughter's boyfriend, his father, and I like this guy. I normally don't like daughters' boyfriends, but this guy's good. His father's was a French illegal alien. He'd been living here for like 20 years. He got sent back to France. And so I said to this guy, my daughter's boyfriend, I said, wow, man, he must hate us for that one, right? And he goes, no, he's such a big Donald Trump fan. I said, even now? He said, even now. He said he thinks he's awesome. And I said, well, wait, time out. What did he say? He's like, well, he put on a French accent. He's like, my dad said this. He said, well, I was here illegally and, I had a good run and that's the law and I don't hold it against him. He's doing his job. See, that's the mentality and that's a good one. And the war I was talking about earlier is this war to kill our culture, like Donald Trump says there. This war to convince people that America's bad, that everything's deep state, that we don't have freedom. Oh, we have freedom. But you hear these people, and they're not just on the left. They're a lot of them on the so-called right, or they think they're on the right. They're not on the right. They're on their own little isolation island. They're being manipulated by people like Alexander Dugin, Putin's brain, with their isolationist views and their anti-Israel views. Those are all like, fourth political theory stuff, which shoves and isolates America into a sphere, and the world's supposed to be shared by China, Russia, was supposed to be Venezuela and Iran. And then we'd all stay in our same spheres. That's called multipolarism. And everything would be good. Well, Donald Trump sees right through that. A lot of us do too. Us, you and me. So what did he do? He turned that on his head. He made deals with Greece in November and Ukraine to build a pipeline. With Greece, he made a deal to have naval operations in the Mediterranean, which really inhibit Turkey's ability to harass anything regarding Israel or anything going on, that makes them go into the Mediterranean. Operation Neptune's Trident. Trump yelled at Zelensky, but you know what he didn't do? He didn't shut down his funding. And then all of a sudden, within days of our strike on the nuclear capability, the nuclear facilities in Iran in July of 2025, Zelensky shifted his targets from military targets in Russia and doubled down on hitting oil infrastructure targets in Russia. Russia being the biggest provider of oil to China after the Strait of Hormuz at the time. What else happened? Well, Rubio made a trip to Mexico in October 2025, and I don't know what he said, but all of a sudden oil shipments to Cuba started falling off from Mexico. What else happened? Oh yeah, let's not forget this one. Then all of a sudden there's all this controversy about the drug boats that were blowing out of the water off, between South America and the United States. And everyone's like, oh, they're fishermen. They're innocent fishermen. Most people on the right were like, oh, they're drug boats, but, why is it getting so much attention? Well, it allowed them to move an entire carrier group into the range of Venezuela. And it's my opinion that the entire drug boat thing was just to get a carrier group there so they could execute the operation that took Maduro in his silk pajamas right out of his bed, almost literally. That allowed us to seize the key mixing oil that normally would go and get mixed with Iranian crude, and via shadow fleets to avoid sanctions, and by mixing out on the open water, this mix to make it more refinable. Venezuelan oil needed Iran and vice versa, Iranian oil. The light sweet crude that comes out of Saudi Arabia is way too light to be mixed with Venezuelan oil and so on and so forth. You need a certain, I don't know a lot about it, but I did some research. And so It also stabilized oil prices. They didn't really go that crazy because then we had to strike Iran. Now, are we losing? Depends. What do you think is losing? Should we have invaded them and made them the 51st state? And we didn't? That's losing. They're still yelling and rattling their saber, but not doing anything. And do you really think it's the Iranian Navy, which is about a dozen Boston whalers with some 50 cows on them, are really in control of the strait? Well, if you think that, it's because that's what people want you to think. Okay? Because what that does is it's like, okay, we got peace. Now oil prices are down. They were coming down anyways. Had nothing to do with the peace proposals. But we control the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, we do. I think the only reason Trump has allowed oil to come out of there recently, even though, and we're also taking about 1 million barrels a day out of the Strait of Hormuz for the last 6 weeks. But it allows those oil pumps to pump so they don't break down. If you're not pumping oil, your oil rigs break down. So it allows them to bleed it off. I hate to be gross, but it's kind of like a pimple. You got to kind of bleed it out or it gets big and then it just wrecks your face. I think that's why those ships are allowed to go through. Plus, they're also hitting it. People don't realize it's not like, it's not like Iran is now, okay, now we're going to come right back and get you. They will if we don't shut the strait down again, because we shut it down when they tried to open it up. Let's not forget that, and that's a good thing. Why is that a good thing? Because after Venezuela, we became the net exporter of oil for the first time since World War II. And this year is a record year for Corpus Christi port and all of our major oil exporters and LNG exporters. It's a record year. Global supply is up. That's why Brent crude has come down precipitously since March, not since the peace deals. Okay, and so why Hormuz? Why Iran? Chief competitor. Get rid of them, then all of a sudden China's got a problem. They had to go to Russia and say, hey, Russia, you got us covered. Russia's got, yeah, we got your back. But then Russia has another problem because 20% of their oil production capability had been blasted to smithereens by a bunch of Best Buy drones by the Ukrainians. I'm sure we gave them a little help. So now Russia's got a problem. They can't release, but you got the Siberian pipeline. Good. Seems to be intact. But to augment and increase their exports to China, Russia would have to go overseas. They'd have to go through the Strait of Malacca, but boom, check. Here comes Rubio. You see, back in February, Rubio made a deal with the Indonesians to do joint military naval exercises in the Strait of Malacca, thus cutting off sea routes. And Malacca is a huge trading route. I think it's bigger than Hormuz. Okay. We start rattling our saber about Greenland to cut off more trade routes. Whether we get Greenland or not doesn't matter. It allows us to get more trade routes. Remember, everyone was so scared when we sent some Navy ships up there? No, that's to cut off trade routes. When the world tried to isolate America under Biden and during Trump's first administration, because he just had too many balls in the air, he could not keep up with it. The world tried to isolate us and shove us in a corner. Now we are isolating the world and shoving it in a corner. And guess what? When you're the person that controls the levers, you can decide if there's peace in the world. When Russia keeps spending out their national wealth fund to the point where they're going to have shopping bags of money in about 9 months because it's going to be valueless because they keep tapping into it to rebuild the oil infrastructure, all of a sudden you got an oil problem. But we don't, and we have 60% of the dominance of the world's energy currently. China's got a problem. They need not only the oil to move their big cargo ships and sell us their junk, but they also need LNG. Why LNG? Why do they need that so much, Brian? Well, that powers their data centers for their AI. So now they've been handicapped in the AI race because they can't get enough LNG. Which is genius by these guys. Genius. I'm so proud of our president. This is some high-level, intricate strategy. Okay, and go to my past episodes. If you're new to the show, please go to my past episodes, my Substack, everything like that. Not just making this stuff up. This is all well documented, and not by newspapers, by actual things that have happened and are not being argued. And if you don't believe me, just look at the prices of key indicators. That's what we're going to do tonight. Not a lot of them. We're just going to roll through them because it's late. I know you're tired and I'm tired, but I couldn't wait to talk to you guys. Okay, so Trump had just said enemies. And if you didn't see it, what I want to show you, and I hate to show you this, but I think it's important, is Mondami's speech yesterday in New York about this country. And by the way, why is Mondami important? Because they have momentum. You're going to see LA is going to go to the DSA as well. Karen Bass made a huge mistake when she screwed over Spencer Pratt because she's out. She's an old Marxist. They want young Marxists. That's what it comes down to. So she's going against Nitya Raman, who's DSA, who's gaining on her fast if she hasn't overtaken her already. Bass can't stand up against that DSA figure. You're watching the Senate seat go in Michigan. Denver primaries were ridiculously lopsided towards the DSA. So Denver, LA, Chicago's gone anyways, but Detroit, Boston. Okay, not DSA, but Boston has younger Democrats. I was talking to one today at the thing. They had Seth Moulton there. And they're just kind of like taking on the DSA banner and their promises, and they're just parroting them. So even when DSA is not strong in a city, and they're actually not that strong in Boston, in Massachusetts, they don't have to be, because the Democrats are so scared of them, they're becoming them in policy, okay, and campaigns. So Mondami's important because he's seen as the kingmaker now since the New York victories in their Democratic primaries. He's inspiring a lot of these wacko communists to take more cities. And I know a lot of you who might be in the suburbs or far from a city say, oh, fine, cities get what they vote for. No, they don't. And not only that, let's not forget, the Bolsheviks took Russia not by seizing, not by running elections or seizing power in rural farming areas. They just took the big cities. Once you got the big cities in the military, what can the country do against you? And that's what the strategy here is, to take our major cities. Okay, take our major cities and spread it just like the Bolsheviks did. But they got a problem, though. The Democratic Socialists are not just storming the castle, they're trying to do it through our political system. And they are horribly weak with who? Homeowners, which would make sense why they're weak in Massachusetts. They only get the renters, they only get the people who are life losers, who want to blame their problems on everyone else, and who forget that they wouldn't even be anybody without the United States of America, and no one would have heard of Mondami without the United States of America. So let's listen to his gratitude here from yesterday. Let's see if he's thankful, because he should be. He's probably illegal.
There is a term so often used to describe our nation and those who have shaped it: American exceptionalism. American exceptionalism, the conventional wisdom tells us, makes our freedom a little more free, is how we dug the Erie Canal and irrigated the West, is why children in faraway lands grow up dreaming of one day moving here.
Thank you.
Yet the irony is that the story of America has so often been written by those who were told by others with power and influence and wealth that they were anything but exceptional. For generation after generation, we have been told that when the world has sent its people to our shores, it has not sent its best. It sent Puritans and Sikhs and Quakers and Muslims and Jewish people who were banished for praying the wrong way, worshiping the wrong gods, angering.
You hear the way he
wrong
twisted
people.
that crap up?
It sent peasants and serfs from slums and shtetls who were treated as less because they hardly owned clothes, let alone land. It sent immigrants from whom power was something someone else had. We are told that America is exceptional because we are richer, stronger, more powerful than everyone else.
Yes.
The truth, my friends, is that America is exceptional because here, nothing is fixed into place. The frontier may be closed, we may have walked on the moon, but the work of fulfilling the values first enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, that work endures. and it belongs to us all. It belongs too to our newest Americans, those standing here with me today, all of whom were recently naturalized. Nearly a decade ago, I too felt what you feel, the joy of no longer being just a New Yorker,
Not what I feel.
but an American too. You each
He
hold
he
a
never
special
felt that.
power, the power to
I love
determine
America.
what
That I
America
feel.
means. The powerful have always known their answer. America, in their view, is an arena of supremacy, where only a select few are allowed freedom, where not all are created equal. America, if you ask them,
Okay. I can't stand it anymore. You get the idea. This guy's a moron. I want to point out, did you guys notice that he never said that we're here to uphold the Constitution? He just said the Constitution and we all own it, like it's this albatross. So I wanted to play that, and it's interesting because you're going to see by the end of this podcast, after we go through Trump's report card, he starts flipping on a dime. Why? But he plans a speech. Idiot Taylor Swift plans her wedding, violating so many laws in New York City that he let her violate, like blocking off sidewalks, everything like that for a personal event, private event. Can't do that. But what I love is the Trump administration just marched forward and they were just flying sorties over New York City with red, white, and blue streaming out of it like all day long. You see Zoran, dumbass, like literally shifting his message to sound more patriotic. It was just pathetic. Okay, that's the beginning of the rant. God, it's so good to be back talking to you guys. Let me get rid of this moron. There we go. And then I am going to, let's look at some comments. Wow, a lot of comments. Holy moly. Wow, a lot of people. Thanks, guys. Here we go. Roscoe. This was about an hour ago. Brian, do you feel Taylor Swift having her wedding this weekend is kind of cheap, trying to conflate the attention? Yeah, but it didn't work. Totally, obviously it was planned, because think about it. It's like, how do you get that venue on the 4th of July? Like, New York's known for some of the biggest celebrations. So yeah, a lot of money went into that. It's stupid because, I mean, I don't think Taylor Swift realizes how many people don't like her all around. Go to Blue Sky. They can't stand her. And they're like the far left crazies. Okay. Yeah, we saved Europe twice, and God knows how many times we saved it just from deterrence. So welcome back, Roscoe. Good to see you. Can you talk more about Obama's policies? Mean you are now, but more. Another episode. Otherwise, it'll go too long. I want to make this on 4th of July. I just want to make this, or 5th of July now. I want to get the facts about like how far we've come out of the way. But yeah, Roscoe, that's there's so many topics. Obama policies, of course, because they roll into what's going on with the pro-Assad people. The MAGA Reich, they all like Assad. And that really started with Obama. He wasn't bombing them, he did bomb them. And basically, he was, at the time, the Russians were the enemy, and they were trying to get Assad out. Okay, so they could get their own government in there. Okay, and we did that too, like Trump did that too. But Assad had to go because really, aside from gassing a ton of people, Assad is Russia's cat's paw in the Middle East. They always have been. It's also one of the links in the Belt and Road for the Chinese. Yes, we put an ISIS terrorist in there. No, I don't think he should have ever been invited to the White House. But whether you trust him or not doesn't matter. You don't have to trust him. It's going to be chaotic in Syria now. No one can really deal or negotiate. That really slows down the Chinese and the Russians' footprint because they don't have that Syrian foothold. Okay. So, there's that. But, and, a lot of that starts with Obama. So as you guys are trying to research these massive strategic storylines and webs, you really got to look at Obama, and you really have to look at Syria. Because all of these MAGA Reich people that take a lot of their talking points from Max Blumenthal and Jimmy Dore and Kim Iverson, these kind of people, they all receive money from something called the Syrian Solidarity Movement, which was formed by an architect. And guess what? That architect, the Syrian pro-Assad guy, he is the original guy who made the first documentary saying that the Israelis did 9/11. Okay. I'm not kidding you. And Blumenthal is pictured with the Syrian Socialist Nationalist Movement, whose emblem actually looks exactly like a swastika. Not exactly, but pretty close. Kim Iverson, Jimmy Dore, the Gray Zone, Max Blumenthal, they all received money from a foundation called the Syria Shim Foundation. This reporter that worked for the Iranian news stations got killed and set up a foundation and for excellence in journalism. And all the people, the bigger names that you see speaking like in the same tone as Tucker Carlson, all these anti-American so-called right people, they were never for America. Max Blumenthal was never for America, and he's the most Jewish-hating Jewish person or person I've ever seen in my life. But basically, they all took on the same voice after 2019 when they all received money from this Sira Shim Award, which ironically is bankrolled by something called AIPAC, but not the Israeli one. It's the American Investment in Popular Action Committees out of San Francisco. Same people that fund the flotillas, same people that fund the PSL, same people that fund, the Palestinian Solidarity Movement. So these so-called right-wing thinkers, whatever, content providers, they're actually getting money from, or got launched with the same money that the people they're supposedly against it, like these pro-Hamas people. So there's that. So that's a long answer to that question. Okay. Love that book. Yeah, definitely. Very disappointing admin. Squandered. I disagree, Jenna. Welcome to the show, Jenna PTX. All opinions are welcome, but bring your receipts. If you're going to say very, very disappointing admin, squandered, throw it up there. What are you talking about? What is squandered? I think people have to really, really put in the work to get through all the muck of social media and legacy news and start thinking strategically. I think this administration is doing a fantastic job, and I've got the numbers to prove it. But you have your opinion, but if you're going to say it, I prefer, and you don't have to, but I prefer, if you're going to say it, you're going to feel a lot better if you can back it. See, there is nothing better, right or wrong, than doing the good research to get to transparency. Because when you have transparency, right or wrong doesn't matter. Transparency matters, and it makes you feel good. And if you're big enough to say, damn, I was wrong, that feels good too, because you've gotten that off your back. You know what's going on. I'd rather have 3 guys in the room with me pointing guns at me with the lights on than possibly 3 guys in the dark and the lights are off. Yeah, even though I turned on the lights are there, that sucks. But you feel a little more empowered because you know what you're dealing with. See what I mean? But all opinions are welcome. Okay, he was slated to win. I did the exact same thing. Chinese food and Corona. Yeah, about the coronavirus. Yeah, Trump was slated to win, if not for COVID. How convenient. And also, it let the Chinese break their trade deal with the United States because they had a pandemic policy written into it. Things we forget. Imagine, if you will, gentlemen, a virus so deadly you need to test to see if you have it. Right. And imagine, or how about this one? How about, like, do you notice the way, like, the pro-abortion people stopped saying my body, my choice when the COVID vaccine came out? I'm not kidding you. This stopped. Because you can't really have a slogan that says my body, my choice, except for these situations. Exactly, yes, yep. Do you remember the BLM protesters would take their masks off and shout Black Lives Matter, then put the masks on like we're rebels, now let us do exactly as we're told? I noticed that most of the Black Lives Matter protesters were white and Asian. That's what I noticed. And tearing up black neighborhoods and, a lot of black people coming out in the neighborhoods, get the hell out of here. Why are you tearing up our neighborhood? Gore-eyed beast, 1978 America. I love this. This is funny, even though I think he's mocking me, but it's funny because my daughter who grew up in like ranch country, like deep ranch country in the eastern side of the Sierras. I mean, this kid was doing mutton busting when she was like 5. Now she's like a hipster in Brooklyn. I mean, we bought her first Glock when she was 16, but me and her mother, but she would always say that she'd see like a big American flag because she's on my side of things, but at the same time, anyone that lives where there's some rednecks, you know what I mean? They can be a little annoying, like giant flags and blasting music. And like when they pull up to the church parking lot, I'm with you. I love the enthusiasm, but come on guys, like we all got to share this road. And so she'd see a big pickup truck with like giant American flags and she'd go, America. It always made me laugh. Okay. Joe looks like a ghost train ticket taker. Yeah, right. Jesus. Did you see him looking for his daughter who didn't exist? That was so sad. I shouldn't feel bad for Joe Biden. I kind of do. I kind of do. I guess I have some empathy left in me. I mean, it's elder abuse. Like, I think they need to bring Jill Biden up on charges. She just keeps trotting him out to get money. It's disgusting. I can't imagine like a private citizen or a normal private citizen doing that. Like, hey dude, why do you keep making your dad sell ice cream and juggle in the clown suit? He's like 98. He's falling over. He's shut up and juggle the balls. Yeah, I mean, it's disgusting. It's like pure elder abuse. Oh, by the way, welcome Gory-Eyed Beast 1978. That is a great name, and that is a great avatar. I like it a lot. Trump works for the... Oh, stop it. Please tell me you're joking. Gen X Mike Kokel. I hope you're joking. That is like... Anyone that keeps saying that is really stupid and just refuses to read. I actually got into an argument with a guy who was quoting the Scrolls of the Elders of Zion, which is Tsarist propaganda that's been debunked for over 100 years many times. And people are like, hey, dude, Elders Zion. I'm like, oh my God, go get out of here. Go eat your mayonnaise sandwich and sleep with your sister. I don't have time for that nonsense. White man from town, M6W. Is that Dr. House in the avatar? I can't tell. Anyways, Trump is just as instrumental as any founding fathers. Totally agree with you. And I think I think we get forest fire presidents that we need throughout this country. We had Teddy Roosevelt, Andrew Jackson, George Washington, Donald Trump. We get those guys that really are just not like the rest of the system. And Trump is that. And, if you've lost faith, just do what I did the other day and just look at what they've done and then compare it. Look at the economy, look at the military, look at pride in our nation. That's a big deal. I mean, if you've ever played Total War, that old video game, your attitude and your patriotism actually went into how you fought. Nettie Slabby, fake corona, love it. Not shot, as fake as the other stage. Okay. Well, Ruth never took a shot, did he? No, he never took a shot. Okay, Nettie, and here I gotta be fair. As fake as the other stage shooting, prove it. Okay, I don't need to prove a negative, but you kind of got to prove that. You don't have to. But honestly, like posting things without sources, it's just social media graffiti. Makes you feel good. But if you haven't done the research, why are you saying it? So do it. I mean, and here's the thing, guys. This is not like I'm right, you're wrong. It's called investigate everything. You feel a certain way, that's fine. You can say it. But if you're going to keep saying it, you kind of look like a dumbass when you don't realize it, when you don't research it. Because what happens is this whole the Jews thing, like that's a fast draining swamp. Like, that's not the hill you want to die on, because it's so deep. It was debunked before it was bunked, but to keep saying it, that just tells me you don't research anything. So, unless you're being sarcastic. So, and welcome to the show. Nettie, that's the law. Ha ha ha. There are a bunch of Trumps, lots of Bidens, and others too. Wow. Okay, well, there's one on every show. Let me see. Nuclear does not exist. Look up Stephen Young. You look it up. Okay, god damn, I'm getting spammed by this person. Okay, there we go. Nettie, I'm gonna kick Nettie off of the thing. I just want to answer the text. Anti-corruption Autumn, welcome. Good to see you. I saw some Michigan Democrat reps posting anti-American crap, mentality, hate in their feed on the 4th of July. Yeah, I know. I took Naomi down to downtown Salem, and it was a good crowd. It was very patriotic people. We actually went to the VFW for some beers, and then we went out to the Village Green and everything. Nice ceremony, but the people on the stage, it's just like so, the Seth Moulton idiot is like, oh, we got to work together with the danger in the White House now. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm looking around at the crowd and I filmed them. Most of them are tourists. So it was funny because these people on stage were not getting a lot of applause because these people from other states that just wanted to come to Salem and the Boston area for the 4th of July, they're like, I don't agree with that. And I'm looking around like there's a lot of Trump t-shirts. It was crazy. I went up to one guy and said, well, you're a rare breed around here. And he's like, oh, yeah, man. He goes, yeah, I love my Trump t-shirt. And I'm like, Salem's very, very rainbow flag-ish and very liberal. But they weren't getting the rah-rah, we hate Trump. I think that they were expecting because they're probably getting most of their talking points from social media. And Salem's like actually a working class town. And a lot of the people that come here, this is kind of a cheap vacation, and it's a cool place, but they're hearing this, like, what? And my wife, Naomi, she's yelling and saying, that's because it's not true. That's because you just hate it is funny. I got her on video, too. Hey, okay, Nettie, I hear you. You can put. I'm not going to read your stuff. It's just too much. It's just you're just throwing shit. You're vomiting stuff onto the chat. Honestly, seriously, and I'm not saying this to be mean. Make a show. If you got all this stuff to say, I got to tell you, I love communicating with you guys. I love talking to you guys. I love our information exchange. But Nettie, you got a lot to say. Make a podcast. Get a StreamYard account for like $20. Use Daily Cloud as a code so we could get some credit for that. Seriously, and just rant. Like, you put it all out. You don't need to do the research like I do. Put it out there. I'm serious. I'll even come on your show. I'm not a big kingmaker, but seriously, make your own show. I think you should. I really think you should. You're gonna feel a lot better because you get it out when you put all this stuff in your head. Got to get it out, and when you're getting it out, you start processing it. Those conclusions you thought you came to, you start questioning yourself when you hear yourself say it out loud on a podcast. You're like, that kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. Victim. Okay, got it. Okay, so you're saying Democrat reps posting anti-American crap, victim mentality. Oh, totally. And, the people at the top, like Mondami, they know what they're doing. But I think Tim Pool said it best this past week. You've got all these people that were lied to their whole lives. Kind of like, man, they gave you myths of opportunity. They were told to get this liberal arts degree and to get this degree, and you'll be employable. And they probably meant it because these kids were getting hired by USAID funded bullshit NGOs. But now you got all these unemployable people. They could be employed, but I know this class, they're unemployable in the fields they want to be, so they stay under or unemployed because in a lot of their cases, their parents are subsidizing a lot of their lifestyle, but parents can't do that forever, especially in New York. But I see them all over New York. Not in Little Caribbean where I live. But if you go towards like Park Slope, oh yeah. And they're also all unhappy, and that's a really nice part of Brooklyn. But when you walk down those streets, I was just at a rally for the Mondamis trying to dump a bunch of homeless people into Flatbush. So I had to go up to Park Slope. What I notice is like it's mostly white, and everyone just seems like they're in a bad mood like all the time. I go back down to Little Caribbean where people are mainly poor. They're first and second generation immigrants, legal immigrants from Jamaica and Guyana and Costa Rica, Dominican Republic. Those are our neighbors. They're out there playing chess like old school, like on the sidewalk, like right at the corner of Flatbush and Bedford. Every day, these guys are selling little stands and they're happy as shit. Like everyone, it's a very harmonious little neighborhood. Yeah, we got our shootings, we got our stupidity that happens, but it's New York. But the closer you get to the gentrified parts of town, the more angry people are, and that's also where you see the most communist stickers and Marx stickers and DSA. You know why? Because people in our neighborhood own their homes. And there's actually like single family homes like that belong in the suburbs surrounded by these giant buildings. It's wild. They can't get homeowners because they're against homeowners. So yeah. Stage, George Floyd was not killed. Okay. You're a crazy person. Sorry, Nettie, you're a crazy person. There was a dummy under the... Okay. It's actually kind of entertaining now. There was a dummy under the car. No one saw the dummy? Was it a perishable dummy just turned into mist? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Sorry, Nettie, I'm just giving it to you straight. Yeah, that's dumb. But entertaining. You're kind of like, okay, in this chat, you're kind of like the National Enquirer or Star. You know, you read it in the aisle, and it's like, there is Batboy. Batboy's back. Nettie, tell us about Batboy. Why are there are no knock-knock jokes about America? Because freedom ring. I love it. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, God, I gotta climb through all the Nettie stuff now. Hello. Oh, Magna Ride. Nice car. Hello, Magna Ride. Hello to you. Oh, God. I actually have a big audience. Thanks, guys. I normally do, but damn. I live in Houston. Deportations are not occurring. We'll talk about that, and I'll tell you why. But I was actually just at Houston, and I wish I had it with me, Jenna. Come on the next show, because I want to show you my cowboy hat that I bought, and I want you to tell me if it's a good one, because I'm a city boy, and I went out to the Houston Rodeo, which everyone in their life should do at least once. It's like a month long. It's huge. It's like the Super Bowl, and they got a whole carnival house. It's awesome. I love the Houston Rodeo, and I know some rodeo. My daughter grew up in that environment, but yeah, the Houston Rodeo is great, and I bought a way too expensive hat, but I like it. You know, Naomi went out there. She bought like this prairie land dress and everything and some cowboy boots. We had a great time. We're out there with our friend who's like got this palatial place. I mean, our guest house was like the size of a single family, and he's a super nice guy. He's originally half Syrian, but he's just one hell of an American entrepreneur. He's just really made a go of it, and he's a hardworking dude. And so he hosted us, and it was just wonderful. I totally did not want to leave Texas. I love Texas, and that Houston Rodeo was awesome. Jenna, want your thoughts on the Houston Rodeo? Did you go? What do you think? I love it. I'm going next year too. Happy Independence Day from, Southern California. What part of Southern California? And I have a lot of friends down there. Check out Ora Nadrick. She's been on my show. She's also on, just look up ORANADRIC. Look her up on X. She's awesome. She's out there in the Palisades. And they have a lot of money, right? And because her husband's a personal injury lawyer, but he's like a freaking dynamo. Jeff is one of my best friends, and this guy just nonstop working, and he has more energy than me, and he's older than me, but he literally snuck back into the fire zone when they had the fires, and he noticed that Larry David, the producer of Seinfeld, who's his neighbor, he had a private fire company standing by to put his house out if it went out. They actually have private fire companies. So Jeff, he's a great wheeler and a dealer. And he's also one of those guys that you go to Costco with him because he loves Costco. And you go to Costco with him, you leave him for 10 minutes, you come back, he knows everyone's names, he's talking to half the staff, and they love him. I help him every now and then sign people up for big tort cases or big class actions. And he goes to the worst neighborhoods and he just takes over. He's awesome. But lot of friends out there, hardworking people. Anyways, he convinced the private fire companies that, hey, you know what? I've got 2 pools. You can use the water from those pools if you put my house out first, should it catch fire. And he kept sneaking in. He's got his guns and everything, protecting his place. Beautiful palatial mansion. He wouldn't call it a mansion, but I do. But, he also hosted RFK Jr.'s book release back in December, I think, 2024. We went out there. That's when we met them, or earlier than that, like 2023, I think, 22. But that's where RFK had his one of his book launch parties, and Aura launched her book at the same time. It was wonderful. Great place, great hosts, great people. Love these people. All right, Jenna. You're back. I do love and appreciate your synopsis of the COVID scam. Thank you. Oh, God. I think we all need to do that from time to time, just put things in perspective. Okay. Nettie, you're kind of growing on me. Vomiting stuff. Okay, I will leave the chat. I would love to rant. My Instagram account was effective. But I can't post since. Oh, okay, come on, reach out to me, Nettie, if you want to rant. Let me talk to you first so you're not a total crazy person. I'll put you on the show. Rant away. Hell, you might be a new, section of the show that people come for. Because, honestly, I found you a little annoying at first, but now I'm kind of hoping you stick around and give us some more rants. But I got a lot that I didn't read, so, okay. Sorry about your Instagram. That sucks. Whittier, California, border of Orange County and LA County, just off the edge of LA County. Thank goodness. Yeah, no kidding. And by the way, I did this whole, when I was working with the Native Americans up in Yakima at King Mountain Cigarettes, Wheeler Enterprises. I used to go down to California because I'd have to, find people, out in Modesto and everything. And there's a reservation. It's way up in the mountains, and it's literally the most scary thing because you're driving. It's a sheer drop. You're and then you've got to talk to these people who don't want to talk to you because they stole shit from my client, and you're out there on your own, man. That part of California is wild, but I love it. California's beautiful. And by the way, thank you, Magna Ride. Thanks for sticking it out. I cannot stand when people are saying, "Oh, you got to leave New York, you got to leave Boston, get out while you can." Fuck that. You got to leave California. No, I'm not gonna leave the best freaking power centers or the most beautiful state like California. I'm not going to give that to communists. Think about how hard generations and, hundreds of years fought to get that. We're going to give that to them? Anyone that has never been to California, go. Go up to Monterey. Go to Prunedale. Go to Gilroy. Go outside of San Francisco. I don't really like San Francisco anymore. Go to the eastern side. Go through Tehachapi and up to Susanville and Independence and Big Pine. Check out all those places. It's gorgeous country. There's no way we're giving that to the communists ever. Okay, they've got a stranglehold on it now, but I don't think that's going to be for long because it's getting so fractured right now. The DSA, yeah, they're fracturing the hell. They're taking over the Democrats. But while they're taking over the Democratic Party, they're losing traditional law and order Democrats, which, Trump and, that type of politician, they need to capture those people. How do you do it? I don't know. There's some people that will never vote Republican. But this is a great opportunity because, yes, they're taking over the Democratic Party. At the same time, they're taking over the party. These communists are shrinking their voter base, and they're relying on, these young ivory-colored witch type of weird skateboard pants wearing type weirdos that form the DSA. These kind of disaffected, pale, white, pasty people that make it. Those people are not reliable because those people, a lot of them that I met, they seem to have mental issues and they don't know shit. They don't know what's going on. And don't forget the DSA has attacked Mondami several times since getting him elected. That's what communists do. They're never happy. They hate each other more than they hate us. And he's basically taking out the Democratic Party. But even if he totally conquers it, he's going to find that he has a fraction of the voters that they did. Because, believe it or not, the majority of Democrats, yeah, they want immigration. They want a lot of things I don't agree with. But they want law and order, and they're not getting it from communists, and he's made that clear. Okay. Daily Clout After Dark Stream, happy 250th. Yeah, you too. Casino, good to see you. Okay, guys, report card. Let's just do it. But first, I got to thank our sponsors, who are awesome too. Okay, so Wellness Company, get on it. Get on the Wellness Company. I love all their stuff. They also own 775. Well, they're affiliated with 1775 Coffee. You got to taste that coffee too. But Wellness Company. When credible doctors start paying attention to repurposed medications, it's worth asking why. Dr. Harvey Risch, good friend of ours, former professor of epidemiology at Yale, and now serving on the president's cancer panel, is helping lead that conversation. And I've been on Harvey's show. He's an awesome guy. We actually had Seder supper with him. I'm not Jewish, my wife is. And he came up to my house during the Biden time, and we have big get-togethers. And Harvey, first time go on the AR-15, and man, he's a hell of a shot. Great guy. Anyways, a new groundbreaking observational study from the Wellness Company analyzed the off-label use of ivermectin and mebendazole in nearly 200 cancer patients treated by licensed doctors across different cancers like breast cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, and colon cancer. And the results are hard to ignore. After 6 months, 84% of the patients experienced clinical benefits from this off-label use of ivermectin and mebendazole, tumor regression, or literally they didn't have cancer anymore. Now, it's not lab data. It's basically it's real-world patient experiences. It's observation. It was observed, but it's not tested. I mean, cause doesn't always equal effect. They'd have to do tons of tests. But you can't hide those 84% of observed patients had a total turnaround on cancer once they introduced ivermectin and mebendazole to the mix. So Dr. Risch, chief epidemiologist at the Wellness Company, called it an exciting signal, which sounds like Harvey, deserving serious scientific investigation and more accessible, lower-cost cancer care options. That is why the Wellness Company makes it easy to access ivermectin and mebendazole formula using medications that are FDA approved for other indications and are being studied for additional use. It is doctor prescribed and USA compounded, meaning mixed in the USA compounded. And it's designed to support patients exploring these emerging approaches under medical guidance. Ordering is simple and fully digital. Now, let me give you a word of warning. There's a lot of people out there selling these solutions. The Wellness Company is the only company I trust. Okay, because I'll just say it. I mean, a really popular one is All Family Pharma. Now, I got to be careful how I say this because I don't want to libel them, but their ivermectin comes from China. Like, literally, like a factory with like one of the worst safety and cleanliness like records, and I've published all this stuff, and that's where they source their ivermectin before they compound it over here, if they compound it at all. And we did this whole run on this All Family Pharma and many others, and they're like literally like their doctors just fill out prescriptions. Like, we intentionally did a secret shop on them, and we ordered something that would have a fatal reaction to the other medication we claimed to be on, and they sent it overnight. You got to be careful where you get this stuff. I don't like the fact that ivermectin is mainly used by Trump supporters because, the left is that crazy. They won't take something that works if Trump likes it. But not to sound like our friend Nettie, who I chased off the show. He or she can come back. But if I were China, right? Okay. I'm just saying I have no evidence of this. It has nothing to do with All Family Pharma. I am saying that we know where the ivermectin comes from with the Wellness Company. They're happy to tell you. It's all over their website. And they've got literally like Harvey Risch, one of the best doctors in the world. Peter McCullough, Dr. Drew. I mean, there's so many big minds there, and it's a great company. We know the CEO well, Peter Galuli, great guy. They're so good at what they do that they got threatened by Cali Means on a phone call that they published. It was wild. But anyways, I trust them. And look, I think it's crazy not to, I think we can consider China would do almost anything to stop Make America Great Again or America First voters. You want to stop them, get into the ivermectin supply chain. I'm just saying. It's weird that this all-family pharma, which is like promoted by Donald Trump Jr. and Liz Wheeler and even Dan Bongino, who I like very much and respect a lot. I love Dan. He's great. We sent them these reports. We're like, yo, you really should look at this company here. Like, seriously. The CEO's like a career, like he said, felonies. It's crazy. But if I were China and I wanted to take out a lot of people that supported sovereignty, nationalism, and populism, like us Trump supporters do, if you are a Trump supporter, I'd find a medicine that we know most of them are going to take. And I would set up in record time an online pharmacy that can distribute it to those very same voters, maybe put it down in Boca Raton where that other one is, and hope no one pays attention. I'm not saying this, again, just hypothetical based on nothing. I'm not saying this is happening, but what a great backdoor into taking out China's main enemy in our political system. That's people that vote like you and me, or those that vote like me. Okay. That's why we like the Wellness Company. Real doctors, all their certification slips are not from, they're not trying to hide them. The other company actually tried to hide that it was from China. I've got that too. I got to do a whole episode on that company. I'm just going to do it. Ordering is simple. It's simple and it's responsible, and they actually do check your records. That's the beauty of it. And the way it works, if you haven't done this before, you order something online, you've got to submit verification of who you are, and not your medical records, but you do fill out questionnaires, and you actually get real prescriptions. What's really great about the Wellness Company is you could buy ivermectin or this compound that they've created. You can also buy like entire emergency kits that are full of everything from doxycycline to amoxicillin to things you need constantly if you get an infection or you get a tick bite, we all got ticks and we know what's going on with ticks. Nettie would agree with me on this one. Like, there's something weird going on with ticks and Lyme disease. It can't be ignored. But anyways, you can get all that stuff, and it's beautiful because you don't you hate that? Like, you ever like hit a hammer on your finger, like, and it gets infected, and then you're like, okay, well, if I could just get some antibiotics, I know I'll just pop those and it'll go away. But you can't get them because then you got to go to your doctor. Then your doctor has to spend an hour talking to you so they can bill the insurance company an hour. And then they give you a prescription for 10 freaking pills. And then it happens again. You got to go through the whole process. That's why I like things like the Wellness Company, that's online ordering. They give you enough, and it's there, and there's instructions, and there's a hotline to call how to use it. You don't have to go to the doctor every time. We carry these kits around everywhere, and most of their new products like this. So what you want to do is, let me get the banner up. I don't know, guys. I know I stream and rant on, but I really like this late night crowd a lot, and I like going for hours. It's excellent. We haven't even gotten to like the good stuff yet. So thank you all for being here. I really, really like this audience. You guys are my favorite. Nettie's back. Yes. Okay. Good to know. All the Wellness Company does are all the docs listened to during, hold on. All the Wellness Company docs are all the docs I listen to. Oh, yes, definitely. And they're all friends with, we're friends with these guys because we were all like the outlaws. Like Harvey has been, Harvey was at our house for Thanksgiving with his wife, and it was funny watching him and Jeffrey Tucker kind of get into a debate. And I love Jeffrey, he's a great guy, but they got into a debate on I think, which key that this Bach piece was written in. And Jeffrey's he's definitely a high intellectual guy, but Harvey's like Goodwill Hunting. Like he's like, no, that's Bach, in D minor, and Jeffrey's like, oh no, I believe it. I believe it's actually C major, whatever, and Harvey just like blinks his eyes and he goes, oh, I taught myself how to play piano just to learn that piece. I'm like, this guy's a genius, and that's their guy. He's so awesome. Rochelle Walensky, Sino, Harvey, whose friend has access. Joe Latipo, Jay Bhattacharya. They're all part of the same crowd. Walensky would not debate Harvey because she knew she'd lose. You can't beat this guy if you don't know your stuff. He's just a machine, and he's awesome. He's an awesome dude. I can't tell you about his Operation Sparrow, but I'll tell you about it someday. And I've had Harvey on the show, and you're right, all those docs, McCullough, everyone. And then what I like about those doctors too, they loved working with like Naomi, who has a PhD in poetry from Oxford, and which is very hard to obtain, but still, it's not an MD. These guys are like these rare doctors that they don't care. They just care if your knowledge and research is good. And that's why they had such a big coalition. And, a lot of that with RFK Jr., alongside for the ride. I mean, Naomi interviewed RFK back in like 2021 and got that ball rolling together. I love the outlaw docs that are now in charge. And it's so nice that Harvey Risch, the wellness company's top epidemiologist, is working with like Peter McCullough and working with Dr. Drew, another good friend. Him and Susan are great, but they know their stuff. Peter McCullough, do you know he has the most peer-reviewed papers in the world of any doctor? That's who I'm getting my ivermectin from. No one else. Like, that's where I'm getting all my stuff from. I gave Peter Galuli a call one time and said, hey man, I'm having major sleep issues. Do you guys have anything? He's like, we're working on it, and we'll get you some. I love that company. Check them out. What you do, you go to the wellness company's website, and you want to go to dailyclouthealth.com. That's our affiliate site, and use code DailyClout. You're going to get I think it's 60. I'm waiting for the scroll. Yeah, $60 off, plus you get free shipping, which is a big deal if you're buying in bulk. And if you see a price, you're like, oh man, like, one of the emergency kits is like $299. Do the math on that. You're going to spend $1,500 to get the stuff that's in these kits, not to mention the doctor's fees. So they're not expensive, but what I am saying is if you go to like these other like strip mall places like All Family Pharma, they just list the individual pill price. So when you go to their website, like, oh, it's really cheap here. It's not. It's like Tapas. Tapas looks really cheap, and then you get the bill. It's like $200, and you don't even really like what you ate. No offense, Tapas people. That's what the others like. TWC, that's like going to like the adults clinic. They know what they're doing. Love that sponsor. And also, we have a sponsor called Augusta Gold, but I got to find it because we've had several gold companies as sponsors. We really like this one. There's my notes. Here we go. Let me get there. Yeah, so Augusta Gold. I like this. This is a write-up. I'm going to read it to you, but I really like these guys because they're constantly teaching me about economics and the history of gold and everything. And it's really, what I love about gold is it always goes up. It was like, it's like over 4,000 now. It was like, just above 1,000, like 7 years ago. It's insane. But what I like about it too, it's really easy to predict, like dollar values and, unrest. Okay, well, gold's going up. Anything that threatens paper currency, it's great. But let me read you what Augusta Gold sent me. Something I've been thinking about as we have, and this is in quotes, this is from our point of contact, we've been having these conversations. It's just not just what's happening in our institutions or in our economy, but people actually do with that awareness. People actually do with that awareness, because I hear a lot of people who can see what's going on, who understand the risks, the instability, the loss of trust, and yet when it comes to their own savings, it's true. Their retirement, they're still very much tied to the same old systems. And it's interesting because it's not usually a lack of understanding. It's more kind of hesitation or even, just getting around to it, kind of hesitation. And it's sad because it goes by so quick. And so what I'm noticing more and more is that some people are starting to shift their thinking a bit away from trying to predict everything and more towards asking very simply, how exposed are they really? And they're very exposed. And I think a lot of what's happened too is like gold was going crazy when Trump was in office. Now he's in office, then it leveled off, and then all of a sudden this unrest, it goes up. But it's not consistently going up the way it was going up under Biden, but it really is over the long term. If you look at it, it's really good investment. For some, that leads that asking like how exposed are they leads them to explore ways of holding a portion of their savings outside the traditional financial system, including things like physical gold. Having spoken with Augusta Gold Precious Metals about this, and I have come to appreciate is that they really approach it from an educational perspective. Like I told you, when you talk to these people, yeah, definitely. I love precious metals people. They're kind of the coolest people out there. They take the time to walk everyone through how it works, what to consider, and whether it even makes sense for their situation without any pressure. And that's the thing about this gold company, there's no pressure. And you get a lot of really great history and lots of information. If you want to look into it more carefully, you can go to dailycloutgold.com or text clout. Let me put that up on a banner so you have it. Augustus Free Information Kit. There we go. I'm just copying it from this, and I'm going to put it right on a banner. Go to dailycloutgold.com or text clout to 35052. Let me put that up on a banner so you have it. I do invest with these guys. I also invested with Birch Gold prior to them. Both good companies. I like these guys better. I don't know. I don't distrust Birch Gold, but these guys, I just feel like I connect with these guys, and they're kind of looking kind of at the whole picture for me. And what I like about them too, you could say, hey, I'm kind of in this situation, then they'll make good suggestions for you, and they never sent you these minted coin things. That's what's nice. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put this on the ticker. There we go, and there we go. So, yeah, go to dailycloutgold.com or text clout to 35052 and request Augustus Free Information Kit. If you do nothing else, get the information kit, because look, a lot of people have moved into gold, especially in the last 2 years, and it's hard to know, like, who do you trust, right? You got Tucker Carlson saying only trust his gold company, even though he kind of owns part of the gold company, and saying everyone else is bad, and then you just don't know. Well, in this case, I'm actually a trained investigator and career intelligence analyst, and I did competitive intelligence and due diligence, and I still do. That's how I make my money. Every time we get a sponsor at Daily Clout, I'm right in there. And it's so funny because the PR company that will bring us sponsors, they're like, is Brian going to look at this? And Naomi's like, yeah, of course he is. And like, oh, I'm like, what are you worried about? If they're a good company, you got nothing to be worried about. And you did your due diligence, right? Of course they didn't. So they're so scared, like, what I'm going to find, because I found some real charlatans and gave them the boot. These guys, definitely great companies. So check them out, dailycloutgold.com or text clout to 35052 and request Augustus Free Information Kit. Okay. Where are we? Okay, Nettie, I promised you I would put you up, but let me just read what you're saying first here. Okay, well, okay, so this is off topic, but I will You came back, so I'll humor you. Apartment buildings are built with hidden cameras. The apartment building I was living in, when I figured things out, was built in 1989. I think all buildings were built with hidden cameras since the 1970s. I don't know for sure, but I live in a huge building in Osaka. Oh, you're in Japan. Gotcha. You probably do have cameras, which was built in 1979. I bet there were hidden cameras built in. My present home has hidden cameras in every room. Well, okay, not being an asshole here, but if they're hidden, how do you know they're in every room? I can teach you, by the way, how to find them if you want. Actually, if the audience wants, I'd be happy to hop on here and give you guys classes on how to sweep for bugs, how to build your own equipment, what you're looking for, how to approach a room, and how, where you look for hidden cameras. I actually do this for all my clients before we even have a meeting. It's very easy to do, and you don't need high-end equipment. There's a big scam out there that really targeted a lot of ex-military who got into kind of like security services, PI services, protection services. A lot of military get into that. And like bug sweeping equipment is like ridiculously expensive. Okay. And bug sweeping is really easy. Hidden camera sweeping is really easy. And unless they, have developed things, and they probably have, that can shine a laser through a solid wall and pick up sound that way. The most common way people get bugged is Bluetooth devices. They just change the settings so it's, connected as a microphone, like the little earbuds. And you'll have a meeting and then just drop the earbuds in the cushion and kind of hang out aside so they can listen to what you're saying. Their earbuds act as a microphone. That's the most common thing. So, Nettie, I'm not saying you're wrong. I am saying if they're that old, they're probably not operational. But Nettie, here's a quick thing you can do if you want to find hidden cameras. A lot of people, you see those red things. You look through the red lens and you can see and it shoots a laser and bounces back. You can see the lens. Yeah, they're okay, but it's like you're going to have to really do a lot of peeking through that thing for a long time to see anything. And then most of the time it's just, a blip of paint or a nail. What I suggest is go to like any decent sized hardware store and get one of those, what do you call them? They're like, they take heat temperature of walls. You know what I'm talking about? I got one for a bug sweep job because I was looking at FLIR, which is top, and they're so expensive. And they're great equipment, but FLIR makes the night vision. They also make the heat sensors, the infrared. But I went to Home Depot and I got a Milwaukee one for like $75. And so what you do, Nettie, is you just go along the wall and you look through this little thing. I'll try to show it on my next show. And you're looking for variations in the heat where there should be none. That could be a cluster of wires or anything, but that's what you do. You look through this and the camera will glow. Okay. And if you see a glowing thing, like something that has a bright orange, almost white, you go over and check it out. That's a great way to sweep. Then you'll know for sure. So try that out. I'll try. If you nudge me, I'll try to get the exact device. But I bought it for like $75 versus like $700 for like one of the cheapest FLIR ones. It's a great way to sweep. It's also, I also use this Milwaukee thing, even though this is supposed to have like limited range to the wall. Like if I hear a sound outside, especially up in the woods where it's like pitch dark, like I don't want to inadvertently like trip over a skunk or run into a bobcat or something. We got all that stuff, or coyotes moving like 20 dog packs up there. I will literally shine that little Milwaukee heat sensor thing and look at it has a little screen, and I can like scan the woods with that, and it works. It works, and that's like 100 feet away, 200, probably 150. It's worked too. I've seen. I've been using that thing for years. So Nettie, try it. Try one of those. And if someone in the chat knows the exact name of it, it's like you point it at the wall, you click, it gives you the temperature of the wall, and it gives you an infrared image of what's going on. And it's really cool because like you can take your hand, Nettie, and put it on the wall. Okay, then take it off, hit it with this infrared reader, and you'll see your handprints still on the wall because the temperature is different. You should try that out. Get back to us. Reach out to me if you need some help with that. That's terrible. And yeah, still here. I know. I just talked. Look up DRS. Okay, you can send me all this. I'm not going to look it up because I don't have time, but anyone in the audience is welcome to. But do me something better here. Oh, wait. The Baileys, the twins? We'll talk about them another time if that's what you're talking about. I got my issues with them. But when you put something up like this, Nettie, just say why we're looking it up. Like, just a little context. Look them up because of this. Like, we're not just going to look up. People are busy. So if you want people to look up things, tell them why. Like, because they're involved with this thing or they're part of this thing. You know what I mean? If you would. I am on board for gaining knowledge on that, hidden cameras, bugs. Oh, good. So, no, seriously, it's like so easy to do. But the key thing you want to do is like figure out the frequencies of everything. And I was in signals intelligence way back in the 90s, so I learned a lot of this stuff. But just knowing where Bluetooth frequency sits on the spectrum, it's this easy, dude. Seriously. It's like I went to my first bug switch job. I wasn't even trained in it. It's just common sense. It's like, first of all, cameras have to have line of sight. Okay, so microphones, they have to be in a place where they're going to pick up meaningful conversation. So, and keep in mind too, they need a power source. So you could have long-term bugs will plug into the existing, wiring. You just splice it off and power it. But if it's, something you could buy on Amazon or something that runs on lithium, they're going to get like maybe 4 to 7 days out of that thing before it's not working. And in a lot of those cases with bugs and cameras, they have to retrieve the content. So it could be in your attic, anything like that. Oh, Nettie, that is why I got to think of the movie. I saw this movie. I love horror movies. It's so late, I'm probably still going to watch one tonight because I can't sleep unless I watch something terrifying. But I saw this movie. This was horrible. But basically, these people, they go on this Airbnb thing. It's like 2 couples, and they're just getting picked off one by one by this serial killer. Now, this ain't a spoiler alert. It's like, because there's no twist in this movie. But at the end, during the credits, it was terrifying because what ended up happening is they show what the killer was doing. So what the killer would do is he would get a high-end VRBO or Airbnb, rent it out for like maybe 4 days. The whole time he's there, he's up in the attic, hooking up a full surveillance system on his host's Airbnb without the host knowing. And then he had repeaters, transmitters. So then what he would do is he would just retrieve the footage because he was getting it wirelessly, and he would just sit there and watch guest after guest that came in after him. So he's renting the Airbnb, totally bugs the place and puts hidden cameras, and then he kind of comes by every day and he's in the wood line in his car listening and watching everything that's going on in the house. And then when he found victims that he found interesting, he'd move in. He already made copies of the keys. It's crazy. God, I can't think of the movie, but it was so good. And I never thought about that. Like, we have Airbnbs. Like, what's this? And now I climb in the attic every time a guest leaves because that movie. But think about that. He rents an Airbnb, bugs it, and then he comes back, kills the whole family, takes all their stuff, and then he retrieves his cameras. He moves on to the next Airbnb. It's crazy. Good movie, though. All right. Nettie, people told me things they know because of the hidden cameras, etc. Okay, interesting information. The cameras were connected to electricity. They won't beep using a hidden camera detector. I tried covering every one I was suspicious about. Yeah, Nettie, here's the thing. Finding hidden cameras, it's this simple. Look for line of sight. You can, in high-end hidden camera situations, they will actually bubble the paint to create little holes and put a pinhole camera in there. I knew a guy that used to sweep the embassies. If you're in a hotel room, just check the corners or check the corner of the molding. And the way you check it is just get a magnet, and people are like, oh, we're going to get a magnet, Brian. These things are great. These little phone rings. Okay, this is on my phone. What you do is you put that against like the molding, because I've seen systems where they put it in a cavity behind the molding or in the corner, where they pull out a piece of the wall, recreate it, and then they get all their stuff in there and then put it back in, and then the camera's running over here. Well, the first thing we check is corners, and then we check molding. And the way you check them, the way they remove them, is with the magnet. So this you could get for like $11 on Amazon, and you just put this against the wall and you're just feeling things. I do this when I go to foreign countries and I'm staying in a better hotel. I just check I always do a bug sweep, and $11, and I mean, it's pretty darn powerful. It will pull it out. So but yeah, maybe I'll do a class. I think Asino had mentioned. So, all right, the Baileys, no, viruses do not exist, and vaccines are. Yeah, I've heard. This is a tough one. We'll get into this. This is an interesting argument because they make a good argument. I know the argument. I don't want to go too far down that road, but we'll talk. This is an interesting topic. Horo, I like true crime. Yeah, true crime's awesome. True crime's the best. I love true crime. My wife likes true crime. I finally got her on true crime. Please do a class. Nettie, I will do a class, actually. And actually, hey, guys, look, if you want a class, okay, let me see. Those horror Airbnb movies freak me out. How many are based on... Okay, I got to look it up now. Guys, you got me on horror movies. Okay, hold that thought. I just want to read this. This is important. I promise you Trump's report card. So let's do it. Okay, so as you can see, I wrote up some the camera's tracking. Sorry. Let's bring it back over. There we go. I'm not even like... Yeah, see, it's tracking me. It's a setting that I messed up on. Anyways, sorry. Hold on, I gotta shut that tracking off. That's gonna drive me nuts. Okay, here we go. No, we don't want human tracking. We're gonna shut you off. Don't want tracking. How do I shut it off? Okay. Upper body, human track. Okay, well, I got human tracking mode on. Okay, now it's off. Okay, good. Now let me readjust the thing here. I'm going to move this back over. Okay, we're good. Come up a little. There we go. Yeah, I don't know why that tracking kicks on. It drives me crazy. Okay. Hero, true crime. I love true. Yeah, read Anne Rule. If you really like true crime, the queen of all true crime, she's dead now. Anne Rule. She wrote a great book and a lot of books, all true crime. But it was called The Stranger Beside Me. And this is crazy, but if you remember Jeffrey Dahmer, he's up in the Seattle area. So then he's like one of the worst serial killers ever, for those that you must know who Jeffrey Dahmer is. But handsome guy, they were going to run him for Seattle mayor. They don't have a really good track record up there with their picks, obviously. But anyways, Anne Rule, she used to write the statement of facts and kind of narratives for the murder books, so prosecutors get a good summary, and they'd hire writers to do that back in the day. I think AI is doing it now. And that's what she'd write. She went to school as a writer. The only job she could get was with the police, kind of writing these case summaries. And then to make ends meet, she would work at a suicide prevention hotline center where she got nominal pay. And she made a really good friend there. They talk about everything. Super nice guy. They're really like besties. And then for like years. And she shared her problems, and he'd help her out and everything. She'd help him out when she could. And then one day he was gone. Like, he just stopped showing up at the suicide prevention place. Well, he was gone because he literally was Jeffrey Dahmer. And that's how she launched into the true crime career, as she wrote that book about her true crime career was launched because her best friend was Jeffrey Dahmer, and she had no idea. No one had any idea he was a serial killer then. It's a crazy story. Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. It's a good one. I heard Naomi say she liked true crime. Yeah, all right. Here's where we're at. And she doesn't like my true crime. Like, I like the real gritty, like, I want to see bodies. I want to see blood spatter. Not because I'm a sicko, because I want to see all the details. she's not down with all that. The thing she really likes, like our favorite one, is we love Investigation Discovery, because we like the kind of like really bad acting, ill-fitting uniforms. So like the reenactment type true crime ones, we love those. And there's one called Scorned. Love Kills. Scorned Love Kills. It's got this cheesy opening. It's got the angry, beautiful blonde woman with the mascara pouring down, and she's lighting the car on fire. Scorned. It's about scorned lovers. That's a great one. We love American Greed. American Greed's awesome. They need another season. But that's the kind of that's Fear Thy Neighbor, great one. And again, it's not like serious true crime, but it's palatable for people that don't want to see all the gore and get into the nitty gritty. You get a good case summary and what happened, what went down, how the people got caught. Fear Thy Neighbor's awesome. And it's always the same thing. It's always the same thing. The new couple moves in from the city, and the people that are there, they all get along, and there's always a barbecue, and then something happens and they're shooting each other, and then they filter in the actual footage of what happened. Fear Thy Neighbor makes you never want to talk to neighbors. I swear to God. Anne Rule, I read 2 in the 80s. Yeah, Anne Rule's great. The Stranger Beside Me, great book. But I wanted to, okay, so as promised, let's just talk about it. All right, I wrote this earlier, and then we went out and saw some fireworks and went to Salem, but I was thinking about like all these people saying, oh, we're losing, and and people that like Brandon Weichart, like I really like Brandon. I've got his books for friends, I just really hope Brandon's not taking money from someone, because he just is a great analyst, so I know he knows better. And I'm not a geopolitical analyst by trade. I'm an analyst by trade. But, you look at the numbers. And what do you look at? You got to look at energy dominance. How much of the world's energy do you control if you're winning? You got to own it, because if someone else owns it, they own us. Okay? Fiscal framework and jobs. Okay, that's another point. These are the points I look at to see, is America winning? Public safety, of course, law and order. Military recruitment and capability really is a great meter for how much people love their country. National pride, okay, patriotism, and then basically foreign conflicts and how we are committing to them or not committing to them. That's another one of my benchmarks. So let me just read to you what I wrote after I did a ton of research. I'll post all my sources. All right. America is winning on the measurable indicators that actually matter for national strength: energy production, independence, violent crime reduction, military recruitment rebound, unemployment stability by historical standards, and avoidance of new prolonged wars. The dominant narrative often ignores or downplays these primary data points in favor of sentiment polls and selective framing. This episode show notes. This episode cuts right through by sticking to the government statistical agencies, Gallup, FBI, DoD, EIA data, and by placing current results in historical context. And I went all the way back to the Carter years. Okay. All right. Where's Trump winning? Energy dominance. No longer aspirational. U.S. crude production exceeded 13 million barrels a day sustained in 2025. We hit 13.9 million barrels in early 2026. Total petroleum liquid and even higher with liquid natural gas. U.S. now produces 16 to 20% of world crude. Think about that. We're producing 20% of the world's crude. Okay, more than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. Think about that. Brent crude, which is your international marker for oil prices, is all the way back down to 72. So when you're below 80, you're doing good. It's back to 72. It did spike to 100 during the Iran conflict. National average and gas is actually down to 385. Did peak at 450, but I think Biden's peaked like in the sevens. But And gasoline, you got to look at this too. Pull up the AAA gasoline chart, and you'll see that all the blue states have way higher prices. You know why? Because they can put local taxes on top of gasoline prices. So even if the federal average is like 385, you go to Washington State or Oregon. I'm not looking at it now, but I'm guessing it's going to be like $1 and change more because they add all these local things on. Like in Portland, they actually have a tax on gas. It's significant. It's like 27 cents for homeless people. And part of me thinks like these states are doing it on purpose, adding more taxes to gas to, you know, make sure Trump doesn't get a victory on lowering the average. Because if you look at like the national gas prices, there's a bar chart I made. I don't have it with me, but it goes relatively in the same direction. But then in these blue state taxes, on a few of them, California, Oregon, and Washington, you see that gap widens. So it's like they're adding more taxes. It's not like the price is pushing the taxes. They're adding more. You know, it's insane. And yeah, I could see them doing that, like literally just taxing the hell out of their people because they're going to make money, but also it's going to keep natural, you know, average gas prices high, which politically is a huge weapon. Anyways, crude. So here's some numbers for you. And crude's this is big. This is everything. Like until there's better, different energy source, you control the oil, you control the world still. Historically, under Carter, production in long-term decline from 1970, it peaked at 9.6 million barrels a day. Keep in mind, we're at 13.9 barrels per day. Stagnant or sliding through Reagan, so it was like flat through Reagan. Bush Sr., Clinton, early Bush, the shale boom started. You remember that one. 2009 under Obama crossed 10 million barrels per day, then 12 million, then 10 million a day, and then went up to 12 million under Trump's first term. And then the current term is extended. It's a new record. Okay, now this is the interesting thing. We're so dominant that, and we've played a game of chess that has so crippled Russia's ability to produce oil because they're the chief supplier to China. They don't produce any of their own oil. But what we did is we surrounded them. So we got the Venezuelan crude, which that's what China used to rely on. Okay, Venezuelan mixed with Iranian crude. We took that away from them. Okay. Then to make it worse for China, what we did was we took that heavy Venezuelan crude and we're refining it ourselves because Houston was built for that crude. But we also started selling a ton of it to the Indians at a discounted price. The Indians, in turn, have really beefed up their Navy exercises with us in the South China Sea. What does that do? Creates a nice buffer for Taiwan, buys us time, so an invasion doesn't happen. But that was a genius move, selling it, because India is the only other country that can handle that level of crude. Venezuelan crude is very unique. And I think that's awesome. But what that caused is it caused the mighty Xi Jinping of China, of the CCP. It was reported that he actually approached Trump at their last meeting, President Trump, and said, yeah, maybe we could talk about getting some oil because Russia, they can't get enough oil, plain and simple, because everyone relied on the Strait of Hormuz, except for us. It's beautiful. And what we've done is, you heard Trump saying it. We said, hey, we got plenty of oil over here. Come and get yourself some. Okay. It's a beautiful move. Hormuz will close down again. That's my prediction. Because I think they'll keep it open through the midterms. Then they're going to shut it down. Because they got to take that competitor off the map. Or they're going to seize Karg Island and some of the refineries. And they're not going to chase Iranians into the mountains. Why? They don't need to. We just want the oil. And I know that sounds bad, but that's a good thing. That's what you want in our time. That's what you want a president to want. You want I want America to be the most powerful country on the planet as we are. Because if it's not us, just like all you people who are my age, I'm a Gen Xer, okay, 52 years old. All I can think of is Highlander, right? There could be only one. because all these immortal badasses are running around the planet trying to kill each other, because an immortal can kill an immortal, and the game is basically there can be only one left, so they're all going to kill each other. It's the same thing with hegemony, where there's never. I mean, the closest we came to having like a bipolar world, I guess, was the Cold War, and even that couldn't last. The things that last the most are dominant unipolar powers. Rome, England, to name a few, Belgium, somewhat, Spain, empires, the Ottomans, the Turks, the Persians. Believe it or not, some of those examples, you have horrible type of rule from the top, but what you don't have is wars. Okay, well, it's the same thing with America. Who do you want to really call the shots for the world? Do you want America? Yeah, we got our problems, but what's good about America? It's capitalist society. It's not always going to be the same way they call problems. Or do you want China? Okay, China, who disappears millions of people, especially Muslims and Uyghurs, into the Muslim Uyghurs and the Falun Gong into the re-education camps, not because they disagree with their politics, but because both of those people live clean lifestyles, and in the case of the Uyghurs, they have halal organs. China's biggest customer for that is like the Gulf states and Saudi Arabia. Why do you think they cracked down on the Uyghurs? Trust me, it's not because they think they're terrorists. That's the excuse they used. Halal organs. That's why 17 to 28-year-olds were the biggest amount of people who supposedly died from COVID in China. That's also the prime age for organs. Why Falun Gong? Again, clean dietary practices. They don't drink. They don't smoke. Those are healthy organs. I know it sounds macabre, but it's like true. And there's a UN report, I think from back 2017, that kind of shows it all, and people have forgotten about that. It's disgusting. So yeah. All right. So we got that. So energy dominance speaks for itself. Here's some really good, basically unemployment. Yeah. Unemployment holding at 4.2%, solid by recent historical standards. Historical unemployment averages. Carter had 6.5 to 6.6% unemployment, ended at about 7.5%. Again, we're at 4.2, 4.3 now. Reagan, I forgot when I wrote this down. It's like highlighted. Reagan peaked at 10.8%, and then down to around 5.4% unemployment. Bush Sr. ended at 7.8%. Clinton, 5.2%. Bush Jr. rose to 7.8%. Obama brought it down to 4.7%. Okay, from the double digits. Trump first term pre-COVID, he had it all the way down to 3.5%. So Trump was the lowest since before Jimmy Carter. Biden started elevated post-COVID with inflation pressure. So again, 4.2 to 4.3, the closest person to ever get there was Obama at 4.7. So yeah, Trump's unemployment in both terms is below everyone else's. Okay, so that's another win. Public safety, okay, huge improvement. Actually approaching historic lows. Homicides in all major cities fell 21%. Let me say it again. Homicides in major cities fell 21% by the end of 2025. Broader violent crime, which is robbery, aggravated assault, down 10%. Okay. National murder rate approaching levels last seen around the turn of the 20th century. Around 4 per 100,000 or lower. The murder rate has gone down beyond anything. And the Trump administration, under Trump, they actually report crime. Not like the Democrats who just don't report it, so they try to get... Even with them cheating like they always do, their numbers were not this low. Historical arc here. Violent crime, homicide rose sharply in the 1960s, early 1990s. Peak was about 9.8 to 10% per 100K in 1991. Sustained decline with 1990s through 2010s to multi-decade lows for homicide. Then 2020 spike. Post 2022 rapid recovery under current enforcement emphasis. And then a huge drop with Kash Patel running the FBI and the Trump administration in charge. The country is a safer place. This is my favorite one because I'm a veteran, disabled combat veteran, but military recruitment and capability, these numbers are astronomical. Rebound from recent shortfalls. Okay, Army enlistments are up 26% in the first 5 months versus the same period the prior year. So that means they've gone up 26. Okay. Navy's up 47%. Hear that? Navy recruitment is up 47%. FY25, fiscal year 25, stronger recruiting year in 15. It's the strongest recruiting year in 15 years across all branches. And several exceeded targets like the Navy, 47% recruitment increase. Defense budget crossed 1 trillion. I know a lot of you won't like that. With funding for the next F-47 fighter, the Golden Dome missile defense, and industrial base reconstitution. Post-Vietnam challenges persist. Here's the historical context. Post-Vietnam challenges persisted into Carter years. Reagan oversaw major rebuilding. Fatigues from Iraq and Afghanistan contributed to shortfalls in the later Obama years. Current rebound is tied to, talking about recruiting, current rebound is tied to renewed emphasis on readiness and deterrence. And people want to be, okay, I'll put it this way. When I joined the Army when I was 18 years old, I wouldn't have joined the Army if I knew that I wouldn't be shooting guns with a bunch of men and learning how to be a soldier, and instead had to learn about like consideration of others and DEI, and I wouldn't be sure if the guy next to me is a girl or not. That's not the Army I'd want to join. I want to join an army where if I have to kill people for my country, I'll do it. But I'm learning hard skills and there's team cohesion. I can't imagine what it'd be like to join the military under Biden when there's people running around in rainbow fatigues. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Went way low under that because that's not what people want in the military. They're not going to join that. They could join that in, downtown Brooklyn if they want. I think the thing kicked on again. But it's just jumped up, and it says a lot. I mean, Pete Hegseth is, whether you like him or not, that's the kind of leaders I wanted when I was in the military. So I think people joining the military now, especially with him at the helm, I think they're lucky because you're going to become really badass soldiers, sailors, men, women. Yeah, it's a great time. When you have that kind of leadership, it's a great time in the military, and you want to go fight for your country. You don't have to be forced to. National pride. Now, this is kind of sad, but it tells a lot, and it tells we got a lot of work to do in this country. And maybe the DSA is doing it for us by decimating the Democrats. But okay, this is good and bad. Let me explain. Okay, so national pride and partisan divide, Gallup tracking since 2001. Republicans rate at 92%. 92% of the people polled said they were extremely or very proud to be an American, up from 85% the prior year. Democrats at a record low of 36. So Democrats went way down from 62% the prior year, 56 points. It's the widest gap in decades. So they went from decent to hating the country. Okay. Overall national pride hit record low of 58%, driven by the drop among Democrats and independents. So dragging the numbers down. Republicans are always above 90s. But there's a pattern here that I picked up on. Basically, when their guy is in office, their national pride goes up. So when Obama was in office, it's like up to 90% in the early 2000s. Then a sharp drop when Trump came in the second term by like 42%. And then partial recovery under Biden, and then to the low 60s. Look, the point is these people don't care about America. If they cared about America, they're patriotism would be consistent regardless of which party's in the White House. So they're fake patriots, basically. They're, what do they call them? Summer soldiers or whatever. But yeah, sunshine warriors. They only care that their person has power and their party has power and their, political affiliation is in charge. They don't care about this country. Okay, so I want to go a little deeper into the foreign conflicts, but we don't have time to tonight because I'm getting sleepy and I don't want to mess it up. So I'll do that one probably tomorrow or the next day. Here's my conclusion. When production records are set, homicide rates reach multi-decade century lows. Recruitment rebounds, unemployment stays low by historical standards, which I showed you the numbers, and new prolonged wars are avoided because we're not in a prolonged war right now. Iran is not a prolonged war. It's not even a war. It's been, less than half a year. Historical standards and new prolonged wars are avoided. Significant parts of the media, and when this happens, significant parts of the media and political class often pivot to soft sentiment measures or discount gains as inherited or marginal or lucky. That approach has narrative. That approach has narrative consistency. So the narrative stays the same, but it's disconnected from observable data across multiple independent statistical series. Winning here is not a claim of perfection. It is a claim that primary variables used to assess national strength, energy security, export capacity, violent crime incidents, military manning and modernizations, statutory framework for taxation and investment, and avoidance of new endless wars, have moved in a favorable direction over the first 18 months of the second Trump administration. All of these have moved up. Okay, often reaching or approaching historic benchmarks every single time when placed against the records since the late 70s. These are documented in primary sources, which I will provide to you. They can be checked against the record, not against any single headline. So the point is, if you are saying the same thing that NBC, for example, is saying, so let's say NBC says, oh my God, Trump has failed on all the things that matter to make a country great again. And you're saying, yeah, and Trump's doing this. And if you're parroting, whether you know it or not, like any of the legacy media, you probably want to do some research, and get the real numbers, because numbers are freaking fantastic. All right, guys, that is it. I'm getting sleepy. It's so nice to have you all here. I appreciate it. Wow. Just approaching 10,000 views at this late hour. What do we go for tonight? Nettie, by the way, I want to give you a big shout out because, Nettie, I was pretty harsh. I could be harsh to people. It's just my way, and I'm glad you came back because, honestly, that says a lot. Like, you came back, you got your thing to say, and I'm kind of interested now. Not all of it, but kind of. So welcome back. I want the USA to be the healthiest country on earth. It's not that I don't want other countries to be healthy, because I do. It makes me sad to see severely brain damaged children and young adults a crime. Vaccines are the biggest hoax of all. That I agree with. And we can't be the healthiest country for a poor country. Can't. Okay, not now. Okay, and so I'd rather us be the healthiest and most powerful country, which is achievable, and those things are directly related. Totally agree with you on those points. All right, Nettie, true crime. We're talking true crime again. Old true crime cases are interesting, and new ones are not interesting. I wouldn't say that's true. So Nettie, I'll do this. I'll do a whole episode on this. I got to call the lawyer and clear it. So I was a private investigator, overlapping my time in the military intelligence. In the intelligence community, because my last contract when I was down in the Langley area was like 7 days on, 7 off. So I got a PI license. I thought it'd be cool. Well, I got really good at it, and so much to the fact that I didn't even want to go to the government job anymore. I was out in the fresh air, spying on people, zoom lenses. It was great. But it's really interesting because every now and then I get a murder case. Okay, get a murder case. So I was always for defense counsel because obviously prosecutors can't hire a private investigator. They got investigators of their own. So we'd always get defense counsel, and I really learned a lot about how to look at homicide cases. It's really, really interesting how much manipulation goes, from the police to just make it impossible for the defense to defend anyone. Like they'll, send not all the files, or you can't even see the photo. It's so heavily inked. And so I got to solve a lot of these murders, and I got 9 total murder cases, and I solved every single one of them. Because all you do is and it's tons of files, there's an affidavit for everyone. You got to look at everything, and it's like Xerox boxes still. And so this was in Alexandria, but this case, man, it was like basically this guy named Shaquille, he got stabbed right in the heart in Alexandria. The last person he was with was this girl, Pamela, but then Pamela's estranged husband, Clarence, got blamed for the murder of Shaquille. Now, Pamela was a prostitute. And looking at the phone records, I started seeing there's a lot of cops on here, you know what I mean? So I don't know what happened, but I think she was probably a confidential informant, but seemed to be visiting some cops, and they were putting it all on Clarence because he had an argument with her that day, went off to his moving truck job, and then they came down to North Carolina where his Penske truck had ended up, and they arrested him. Not an ounce of DNA on him, nothing. Obviously, this guy didn't do it. It's probably Pamela, who was the last person seen with him, and there was no signs of struggle, just knife right through the heart. And what's that tell you? Well, if there's no struggle, then the person who is just about to slide this knife into your heart is someone you trust. You don't see the knife, and before it's too late, you're dead. Okay? But we proved everything. I was going into dumpsters. I was walking the murder path, if you will. I even was... I basically got Pamela to change her testimony to the grand jury because I figured out, she did carry a knife with her. Because she got accused of stabbing people in the face and stuff. So the last person seen with the victim was a prostitute with the record of stabbing people, and he got stabbed, but they blamed it on the guy that was in North Carolina with no DNA on him. Great murder case. I had to write it up as a narrative, and several others like that. So I disagree. I think a lot of murder cases are really interesting. But what I recommend, don't wait for them in books. Go to any, you could go to any state's government website, and a lot of times you could just pull murder. You could pull murder files, who's in jail for this, and then look into the details of those murders, and you'll see something interesting that catches your eye, and you'll be like, something's wrong here. Okay, but you got to get the practice doing it. That's what I recommend. Seriously, go to real criminal justice records and find out who's in jail for what. And if it's weird, start digging into it. You don't need to wait for something to get on the news. You want to make the news. You want to lead the news. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be gleefully saying this, but there's so many murders, and so many of them are super interesting. Of course, my empathy is with the victims, but again, for people to investigate things, take these cases, and just talk to people when you're driving across the country or around town. But I would ask people, hey, what's going on here? I notice a lot of missing women. Oh yeah, this one guy got, and then you could write a whole book on this. Crime is interesting, as horrible as it is, but there's plenty out there. 10,000 views, yep, but across multiple platforms, because we stream to, I think it's 8 or 9 platforms through one streaming service. Let me see. Mike Winger was exposing a lot of stuff at Bethel in California. Very, very interesting. Church connected. Roy's report, exposed church pastors, etc. Some cases. And what I suggest, I see a lot of people exposing these things. I don't know these cases. Nettie, you seem like you dig in a lot. I would really recommend, if you hear people talking about a case, then get the case. You could get the like statement of facts and everything. They will give that to you. So I would get that. You know, it's really good. So yeah, Trump's doing great, guys. America's doing great. Keep it up, but fight for this country and keep an eye on the Democratic Socialists. Okay. I'm going to end the night with something I worked on today. I've been playing with AI. I got to say, with my guidance, I think I wrote some beautiful music. So let's give it a try. So I'm gonna let you go there. I'll announce when I do my next one. And I really appreciate everyone coming on here. Love you guys. Love America. God bless America. Love my wife. She's awesome. Love my kids. Okay. Try to love everyone around you. Okay. Because you never know where they're going to be gone. And always love this country, because otherwise it will be gone. Okay. Love it, which means you will fight for it. Because what you don't want, what I don't want these people running it for sure. Yes, this is their socialist newspaper in Brooklyn that they hand out. Okay. Fight for this country. It's worth it. And we're gonna talk about the history of the Palestinian-Israeli situation too. That'll blow your mind. I had a nice debate with a young lady the other day and taught her something she didn't know. Like, a lot of people don't know that most of Israel was purchased by Jews in legal transactions from Arabs for all the land that was acquired prior to 1948. A lot of people don't know that. And I don't know that from Grok. I know that from these crazy things called books. Okay. This is a really good one on the Middle East. I highly recommend it. It's very expensive. I paid like $200 for this book. But this is a... And it's a series of essays about the Middle East. I have tons of these types of books. This is my kind of source. But just so you know, the struggle for Palestinian control. Most of these were in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, these essays. Democracy frustrated. Morocco and with the Corsairs, and they go into district in Palestine. They go into the Grand Mufti, the Egyptian-Israeli Accord to submit the dispute over Taba and international arbitration, the Mufti of Jerusalem, and the politics of Palestine, 1917, 1948. But again, I still buy books, and I buy antiques books. This is a reprint. It's not an antique, because things change. And AI is a great guide. Okay, it's a great guide. But it lies to you, even Grok. Like, I'll use AI to, like, kind of like double check, like, flow. But you can't use it as, like, I hate when people put on, like, an AI screen. They're like, oh, AI said this. I'm like, but did you go to the sources? Did you go into the sources? You got to look at the sources. I actually had Grok say to me, I was investigating Tyler Brown, the guy that shot up Cambridge Avenue, like, in the spring. And I couldn't really find much on him because he spent so much time in the jail. The guy's a multiple convicted felon who still got a firearm, fully automatic, and was able to shoot up the most beautiful part of Boston not too long ago. So use AI, but use it to, like, gather data, but you still got to read the data. Don't just say, hey, AI, tell me about Tyler Brown. It tells you a bunch of stuff. Okay, turn that into an essay and then throw it on your Substack, because if you read your stuff, it's like you don't know anything. I mean, the beauty of, like, researching a topic thoroughly and then reading about it thoroughly and then writing about it, you will never forget the details of that topic. But if you let AI do it for you, you won't really know your own topic. So amazing stuff. And by the way, Nettie, check this out. I got to show this to you. You're my true crime fan. I got this at a yard sale the other day in Brooklyn. Check this out. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? Modern criminal investigation. And this is, just so you know, it's $4.50 back then. So Let me see. When was this written? Modern Criminal Investigation, 1952. 1952. And check this out. It's written by this guy. This fourth edition, written by Harry Soderman, DS, and John O'Connell. I mean, what a find this was. And then when I got it, I love when this happens. Personal note, love collecting books. But here, this is really sad. I pull out this note that's in this book that I just found, got on the street. Uh-oh, what's going on with my camera? Hold on, guys, sorry. Trying to get that autofocus to come back. Okay, give me a second. My autofocus just went out. Okay. I'm just pulling up the thing. I don't know what happened there. There we go. Okay, so let me do this. Let me shut off the camera, put it back on. Okay, now I'm going to zoom with the camera. You guys don't mind me doing this just while you're here. Okay. There we go. It's back. All right. By the way, do you like all my American flags? I went crazy today. I got a bunch outside too. All right. So yeah, but Nettie, this is the last part. I'll show you. But this is and the chapters are so. Unfortunately, I get this, and this is the guy who wrote the book, son of police chief, one of 10 children. This is a newspaper clipping that I came in the book because I found it in there, and Dr. Soderman, criminologist to the world, dies, and this is the guy that wrote the book. Is that crazy? And you know, I love old. We have libraries of old books. My daughter buys me old books, old history books. You can't change this. That's why it's important. You cannot change books. Okay, like China, like they change legal cases to win cases because everything's digitized. I've got a Kindle. It's convenient for the plane. But sometimes I'll go back, and when I get home, I always have the hard copy too because I want to check the facts and see if they didn't change the Kindle. But I just want to show you like aspects of detective work, police organization, psychology and detective service, tracing the fugitive, problems with missing persons. Really, really cool stuff. This is just an old the modern investigator handbook, and just some of these diagrams are wild. Yeah. So, yeah, look at that one. That's the one I was looking for. Like how to map out the crime scene the old way. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll put a link to this where you can maybe get a copy. I don't know if you could get it because, again, I bought it off some estate sale from some old lady that died, and they had all these books. So it's amazing. All right, guys, that's all I have for tonight. Now I'm going to leave you on this, okay? I was working on this AI thing, and I couldn't get the music to line up, but what I did is I put together a montage. I'm going to load it up for you here, and then I'm going to play the music through the studio, and maybe that will work. We're done with Mondami. We don't need to hear the rest of his dumb speech. Look at his tweets tomorrow, and you'll see all of a sudden he's going, hey, America, love you, because I think he went too far with his nonsense. But I kind of, was feeling inspired. So I tried to make a video, and I think it came out pretty good. It's a montage. I meant to open the show with it. We ran out of time. But what I have to do, unfortunately, is I have to turn down the sound and then play the soundtrack because I haven't matched those up yet. And before I do that, though, you saw the earlier speech by Mondami. I've got to do this. Okay, I've got to do this. You've got to see this. This is so funny. Someone took the original speech and then they instantly AI'd it, and this is the result.
Guys, it's your mayor, Kami Mamdani. Since we're communists and we don't have electricity for everyone, except for ourselves, we would really appreciate it if you can go ahead and set your AC to a special mode called off mode. Also, it would be great if you could also stop eating, because we don't have food for everyone. So if you're fat, please eat once every other day. If you're kind of fat, you can eat once a day. And if you're skinny, you're probably white, so you don't get to eat anything. If you have any pets, please bring them into City Hall so we can feed our Haitian immigrants. Well, I'm off to enjoy Taylor Swift's wedding, so later, comrades.
Isn't that hilarious? Even the music. All right, so I'm going to leave you on a positive, patriotic note. And so let's get rid of this here. Hopefully this works. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound. But let me load. I got to load the montage here. Let me find that folder. Okay, so I was going crazy with AI today, guys. I'm going to admit it. All right, let me find it. I'll load it right up for you. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Yikes. I don't know. Might not be coming. Oh, wait. Is that it? Where'd it go? Yeah, there it is. All right, so I think this is it. Double checking. Length is right. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to share this with you guys. We're going to end the night there. All right, let's get rid of that. Remove, and then we're going to add... we're going to add that video now that I know where it is. Okay, where you go? Yeah, there it is. All right, so I'm going to add that. But I'm actually going to pause it. I'm going to turn down the sound. Okay, so what I did is I actually made this on Grok. And it took a while because I got to get like the commands just right. But I want to leave you with this because I kind of put together a patriotic montage. And I found another program that helped me write the music I was envisioning for these scenes. Unfortunately, I got like several versions, but they sound really good. All right, so here's that. I just want to leave you on this nice positive note. And before I forget, thank you so much for tuning in. Nettie, I think we're friends now. Okay, we've come a long way. Yeah, I can only look, this is where you help me. Guys, seriously, if you want me to cover something, research it, send me sources, send me a write-up. Okay, use AI to write up. I don't care, but like that's important. I think actually, Nettie, good lead. Actually, it needs to be looking into. They were allowed to get up there, obviously. Yeah, it should be covered. We will, but only got so many hours in the day, and I have a day job, so I don't always have time to get on it. But if you remind me, I'll do it. Okay, so let me see here. All right, so we got that. Now I got to pull up the music. Now I got several versions here. I'm going to see what I can play to go along with this. This is my other music making studio, but this stuff sounds really good. I was really impressed with these guys. So what I do is I describe the style, the crescendo, the is legato, staccato, that sort of thing. Let me just get my library up here. There we go. Just trying to get the... Don't even tell me my music's gone already. There it is, okay. Okay, here we go. So we're going to go with... I think it was version 2, but I'll play all the music. I'm just going to let it run. So let me see here. I don't know if you can... I don't know if that's going to work. Okay, let me load it up here. Sorry, guys. I might have to wait, unfortunately. May have to wait. Let me see if I can do it, though. Yeah, no, it's not going to work. I'll just play it as is for now. You can enjoy it, but it's a good start. We're going to put a full one out tomorrow. I'll get this thing lined up. But, yeah, no, I can't do it right now. That's too bad. But I'll play you what I got. The music kind of like breaks up because this was like out of sequence, but it's still pretty cool. And have a good night, everyone. All right, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me. Happy birthday, America. God love you all.